In 1981, Billy Martin led the Oakland A's to a divisional championship. They played the Bronx Bombers and were swept in 3. Billy is back, managing in pinstripes for a 5th time. It was Ricky Henderson who ran the A's offense under Martin and is stealing the show on the base paths in the Bronx. But Oakland now has a new look, a look of power and muscle. Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire, the dynamic duo. And in New York, controversial Dave Winfield has everybody jumping on and off the field with his monumental blasts. Tonight, in what could be a preview of the American League Championship Series, the Yankees take on the A's on ABC's Monday Night Baseball.
Hey, program yearbook!
Hit the ball!
Get ahead!
High in the air to deep left field. A grand slam!
Get a base down there!
Out!
For the 3rd consecutive day, it's a sellout at the Oakland Coliseum as tonight the Oakland A's open a 3-game series with the New York Yankees. It's the premiere of ABC's Monday Night Baseball. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender. Certainly glad you were able to be with us on the extended weekend as we are preaching tonight the teams that have the 2 best records in baseball. The A's have won 5 in a row. The Yankees, 7 of their last 8. This, quite frankly, could be a preview of the American League Championship Series. The last time that happened was in 1981 when Billy Martin was the manager of the Oakland A's and Dave Winfield is in his first year with the New York Yankees. Tonight also marks the debut of a guy who is 2 times the most valuable player in the National League, who was able to steal over 700 bases, hit more home runs than any second baseman in history, a future Hall of Famer, Joe Morgan. And Joe, glad to have you with us.
Right. Thank you very much, Gary. It's good to be here, and we have a great matchup for our first telecast.
This is an explosive Oakland team. They have been able to do so many things well. A lot of people are saying just how good is this Oakland A's team?
Well, a lot of people forget that last year the Oakland A's scored a lot of runs, but it was their pitching staff that let them down the stretch. This year they've added Bob Welch to go along with Dave Stewart, and Dennis Eckersley has done a great job coming out of the bullpen, and that's why they're leading the Western Division.
Joe, they are 20 games over 500, 9-game lead in the American League West. That's the biggest lead at the Memorial Day break. Can anybody catch these Oakland A's?
I don't think anyone can catch them, but if the A's do not play over 500 baseball, they can fall back to the pack, and I think that's the only way that it'll be a race in the West.
You know, we mentioned the fact that these 2 teams are explosive. They mirror each other so many ways. I think what's really impressive is Oakland's improved their pitching, and so is this New York Yankee team.
Well, the Yankees, like the A's, went out and got some help on their pitching staff. John Candelaria has already won 7 games for him. Rich Dotson has done a great job, and Al Leiter's done a great job, you know, in his 2nd year.
Well, they mirror each other in some ways, but in one way they don't, and that's the off-the-field activity. Earlier this week, Lou Piniella resigned as general manager of the Yankees. There's some talk that the 2 volatile people, Martin and Piniella, did get along. Piniella explains his position, and then Billy Martin.
Anytime you get a general manager and a manager together, there's going to be disagreements. But no, that's not the reason I'm leaving here at all. I feel that this is where I belong in the baseball end of it. When I took this job back in October, I told Mr. Steinbrenner I just don't know how quickly I'll be able to acclimate myself to an office situation, if at all.
Words about the circumstances in the last couple of days.
Well, Joe, I was kind of surprised that Lou left, but knowing Lou after being on the field and after being in the front office every day like he has to be, and all the hours he puts in up to that, something I wouldn't want to do either, so I can understand why Lou left. It's nothing personal, I'm sure, because Lou is a real smart baseball man, and I'm sure he'll come back either as a manager or have another general manager's job where he can have a little more freedom. But as far as you've been reading about in the paper about Lou and I not liking each other, that's ridiculous. But, you know, there's a lot of things in the paper. If I was in front of a truck and it ran over me, I'd get blamed because the truck hit me. So I just don't pay any attention to the papers.
So 2 right-handers, Bob Welch going for the A's. He's won 7 in a row. Richard Dotson seeking his 100th career win. The A's and Yankees will be back with the starting lineup for this game between the two teams with the best records in baseball. Let's take a look now at the starting lineup for the New York Yankees. Henderson leading the major leagues in stolen bases, the leadoff. Bobby Meacham will be starting at second place in place of the injured Willie Randolph, and Washington batting third in center field.
Gary, you can't replace a Don Mattingly, but Cardell Washington does a good job, and he's also backed up by Jack Clark.
Clark with 9 home runs, the DH. Pal Larullo, the third baseman. He'll be followed by Dave Winfield, batting in the 6th position. He had a magnificent home run last night. Gary Ward at first base, of course, with Don Mattingly on the 15-day disabled list. Santana will be the shortstop, and Joel Skinner will be the catcher for the Yankees. Defensively, let's look at the A's, Joe.
Well, Walt Weiss is the shortstop. He's a rookie, and he's on the spot because anytime you're a rookie on a pennant contender, you're going to have a problem. But the key to the Oakland defense is Carney Lansford. A lot of people felt that slick fielding Carney Lansford should have won a Gold Glove last year. He makes all the plays at third base, and this year he's been a great steadying influence on the rookie Weiss.
And so he'll have an outstanding defense behind him, he being Bob Welch. Welch looking for his 8th win in a row. He beat the Yankees on May 20th, went 8 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 run, and struck out 4. Welch, the former Dodger, the right-hander, as Ricky Henderson will come up. But, of course, there's a little bit of drama every time Henderson comes into the game. He has 34 leadoff home runs. That's 1 off of the major league record.
Yeah, Bobby Bonds hit a lot of home runs, and his son Barry Bonds is doing the same for Pittsburgh.
So let's see if Henderson can tie that mark as he leads things off and takes the strike on the outside corner.
I think we'll see a lot of fastballs from Bob Welch on the outside corner to these Yankee hitters. He does not want to get the ball inside and give them an opportunity to jerk the ball.
Carney Lansford, you see him on the edge of the infield grass.
I think he's playing in there more for protection of himself than Ricky Henderson bunting, because Ricky does not bunt very much, but he hits a lot of choppers, and he wants to be able to cut the ball off in the hole if it's chopped, because Weiss wouldn't have a chance to throw Ricky Henderson out. 1
ball, 1 strike. It's going to be grounded to short. Weiss comes up with it to Mark McGuire, and there's 1 up and 1 down. Let's get an inside look on Bob Welch. The guy who should know him pretty well is Jack Clark, who batted against him when he was with the Cardinals, and of course Welch pitching for the Dodgers. Here's what Jack had to say.
For fastballs at all time, and he pretty much pitches you middle out, so you can't really try to hit home runs off him. You have to try to get a bunch of base hits to generate runs, and hopefully he'll make a mistake, and when you get that 1 pitch, hopefully you won't miss it because you might not see it again.
So Bob Welch has the first man down, and Bobby Meacham is up. Meacham coming in here hitting .226. Of course, pressed into service when Willie Randolph suffered that hamstring problem in the series against the Seattle Mariners. Meacham has played third, short, and starting today at second base for the skipper, Billy Martin. Slice foul.
One of the things about Meacham is that he has played shortstop on the left side of the field most of the time. When you have to take the throw coming across the bag on a double play, it could present problems for the Yankees today if they have to make a tough double play in the late innings.
Just a gorgeous day for baseball. Yesterday it was treacherous out here. It was so windy. Some wind swirling today, but not anything close to yesterday. There's a call, strike 2, and the count goes to 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I think there we're seeing something different from Bob Welch. Normally Bob Welch moves the fastball inside and outside. Now I see him staying mostly outside to these Yankee hitters so far, the first 2 hitters.
See his 8-2 record, 7 wins in a row, just misses, and the count goes to 2-2. Up next, Cardell Washington. The Yankees on their longest road trip of the year. 7th game and 12. There's Washington. Cardell, of course, growing up in this area and signed as an 18-year-old by Charlie Finley. Pop to short right. That's going to be a tough field to play this early in the day. Canseco's over. He makes the catch. He's looking up into that sun, and I would think right now, Joe, that's going to be a big problem.
That's a tough sun field right now. It probably reminds you of Yankee Stadium, but it's a tough sun field, and you have to pick up the ball very quickly because you have a lot of white shirts behind you, and then it goes up into the sun. It's going to be tough. There you see Canseco fighting it all the way, but he played out there enough, so he's made the adjustment.
Amazing thing about him, Joe, he has not committed an error this year playing in right field after moving over from left.
Well, that is unusual, especially you have a different angle the ball travels at when you play right field.
Here's Claudel. You see the numbers on Washington. He takes the strike. Claudel this year has come in to pinch hit twice and hit home runs. As we mentioned, he was signed by Charlie Finley. Coming out of this Oakland area, fouls it back, and the count goes to 2 strikes. He's had some very good years. 2 times he's made all-star appearances, once in the National League and once in the American League. Played on 6 different teams. The skipper, he was a little late getting the lineups to us today. Grounded foul.
Well, he was trying to decide whether Willie Randolph was going to play or not, and Willie tested his hamstring, and he felt like he should give himself a couple more days.
Waddell Washington hit .308 for these A's back in 1975, and that's still the club record at 40 stolen bases. It's a very good moment. 0-2 pitch. Rounded back towards second. Gallego coming up. Tough play. Got him. And so Bob Welch sets them down in order. We go now to the bottom of the first inning. Yankees do not score, and the A's coming to bat.
Be a control pitcher. He's going to mix up his fastball with his off-speed pitches well and spot the ball well. And he's going to be battling you the whole game.
So there he is, Dotson, as we mentioned, looking for his 100th career win. This will be his 3rd attempt to get that. He's 5-1 on the year. Of course, pitched last year for the White Sox. There's Lansford, the leading hitter in the majors. Javier will be in left field. Canseco batting 3rd. He'll be patrolling right field. The DH will be Dave Parker. Mark McGuire, who's not hit a home run in 10 games, will be at first base. Ron Hassey, what a find he has been for the A's. Due to the injury to Terry Steinbach, he's done very well behind the plate. And here is the big surprise thus far for this ball club has been Henderson in center field. Gallego at second made a brilliant defensive play yesterday, and then Walt Weiss, the rookie, at shortstop. Yesterday, Joe, was the first time he'd committed 2 errors in a ball game.
Well, he had a couple of tough chances, and he just was not able to execute yesterday. But he has done a great job, you know, for these Oakland A's.
Dotson, the right-hander, a control pitcher. This is 10th start, 11th appearance for the year. Last start was May 23rd in California. He went 4 1/3 innings, giving up 7 hits and 2 runs. Left the game with a score tied 2-2. So Carney Lansford coming up, the leading hitter in the majors, hitting .396. He has a 15-game hitting streak.
One of the good things about Carney Lansford, he's a very aggressive hitter. When he walks to the plate, he goes up to hit. He's not looking for a walk. He walks up trying to get his pitch, and he attacks it immediately. He's a first-pitch swinger. He's a first-pitch fastball hitter, technically. But he can also handle all the pitches, the breaking ball, the off-speed pitches.
Well, he's flirting with 400. He's been doing that all year long. Of course, the last guy to do that was Ted Williams in 1941. That's a long time ago.
That's a tough job to do, though, hit 400.
So Dotson starts him out. It's grounded up through the middle. Flag down, the throw, and it pulls the first baseman off the bag. It goes into the dugout area, and going to second base will be Lansford, as Santana really had no chance on that play. I don't know why he even threw the ball.
Well, I think that comes from Willie Randolph not being out there. I think Randolph would have been yelling at him, don't throw the ball to first base. See, you go up the middle, and the second baseman's job here is to let him know how close the runner is. He should have been yelling all the way, no chance, no chance, and I think they would have saved the base.
Well, that's a base hit and a throwing error, and that is his 81st hit for Lansford, and his average now at .399. What a year he's having. But that's going to bring up now Stan Javier, the left fielder. Javier had a 3-hit game yesterday, the 6th of the year. Good defensive outfielder, and of course the son of Julian Javier, the former Cardinal second baseman. So Lansford is second, nobody down, a hit and an error. The bottom of the first, no score. Dotson starts him off with a curveball, hit straightaway center field. Washington has it gauged all the way. Lansford tagging, he's coming to third, and they're going to get him. Palarula took it, and what a throw from Claudell Washington.
Actually, Carney was undecided. He was standing at second base. He was looking at Jim Lefevre. They were both trying to decide whether they were going to go. And then he made up his mind to let him go, and Claudell Washington makes the throw right on the money, all the way in the air. And he's out by about 5 feet there, as you can see. Palarulio is waiting for him.
Lansford has surprising speed, but you said it well, Joe. He really didn't get a good break off the bag at all.
I think they were too undecided. They weren't sure, and it was actually too close to try this early in the ball game.
So Palarula was there with the tag. Lansford's erased. There's 2 down, and Canseco coming up. Jose takes the pitch outside. This guy is tied for first in home runs with Herbeck with those 12, hitting .286. Number 1 in runs scored. All strike 1-1. Canseco this year, Joe, has really committed himself to being a complete player.
And he's done a great job. He now steals bases, and he's always had a strong arm from the outfield, but now he's starting to catch the ball better in the outfield.
Pitch misses, and the count goes to 2-1. They have changed the way he stands in there. He used to be moving around a lot. They tried to anchor him in a little bit.
Well, he used to hit from an open stance, meaning his left foot was almost facing third base.
Swing and a miss, and it's 2-2.
It's a good fastball from Rich Dotson.
Dotson will change speeds on you.
Well, as Carney Lansford said before, what he does is throw you a lot of off-speed pitches, and then when he throws the fastball, obviously it seems to be that much faster than it really is.
See how Canseco spread out. He used to spread out even more than that, Joe. Believe it or not. That misses, and the count now goes full at 3-2. What they wanted was some kind of a reference for him. So when he did go into a slump, they could figure out what he was doing differently when they videotaped him. But he was changing his stance so often they'd had no reference point. 3-2 pitch. All strike 3. And so the outstanding defensive play by Claudell Washington, cutting down Lansford at third, and we have no score after 1. Claudell Washington, after that brilliant play, here it is again, the catch. He nailed Carney Lansford, tagging up from second, going to third. The throw was there in plenty of time. Canseco was up with the plate, nobody on. He eventually was called out on strikes, and we have no score after 1 inning as Claudell congratulated as he returned to the Yankee dugout. This guy didn't get a lot of credit, Washington. It's one of those guys who could probably play regularly in a lot of ball clubs. This year's seen a little more action, as leading things off now is Jack Clark.
One of the strong points of the New York Yankees is their outfield play, so he doesn't really have a spot.
Jack Clark, 9 home runs, 29 RBIs. Called strike, and the count goes to 1-1. Clark missed the first 11 games of the season. He was hurt in spring training, rounding first base after hitting a home run. He tore the tendon in his calf. Swing, and it's now 1-2. Something menacing about Clark, isn't it? He does everything with such authority.
The reason he's menacing is because he never takes a soft swing. Every swing is like it's no strikes on him. He's going for the downs every swing.
Understand the radar gun. Picked that fastball up at 89 miles an hour. That misses. The count goes to 2-2.
With Jack Clark, you can't tell if it was 2-strike swing or 1 strike. He is trying to hit the ball hard each and every swing.
This guy, of course, DHing after playing those 11 years in the National League. Welch's pitch, light foul, wicked shot back into the stands, and the count goes to 2-2. Well, these two faced each other, Bob Welch and Clark a lot. Welch last year, of course, pitching for the Dodgers, won 15 games. And that's interesting.
Well, Jack remembers getting some home runs off of Bob Welch, but he doesn't think he's been very consistent as a hitter against Bob.
2-2 pitch, grounded to short. Weiss will come up with it. McGuire, and there's a fine play by Weiss. A long throw, and he's able to nail Jack Clark, and there's 1 down.
That's one of the things that Weiss has been able to do so well this year. Go into the hole and make a strong throw. He gets rid of the ball pretty quickly, too. He's got a strong arm. As you see, the ball gets past Lansford. He goes into the hole, sets himself, and fires a strike. And you see Jack Clark hustling all the way. He's out by half a step.
Weiss, great ability. First-round draft pick for this ball club. Clark will sit down and wait another opportunity as Palarula now comes up. The third stacker hitting a lot better. He went through an 0 for 17 streak, and now 7 of 15 cents raised the average. And he looks at a call strike 2.
That's the first changeup or off-speed pitch that Bob Welch has thrown. His curveball is pretty hard. He's thrown a couple of curveballs to go with his fastball, but that was the first changeup.
Alarulo, who has improved defensively at third base for these Yankees, and the left-handed batter will back out of there. You know, for a guy that doesn't hit average-wise very well, he really drives in a lot of runs.
Well, he's produced runs with the base hits because he hits better with men in scoring position, obviously.
Foul tip, but he hangs on. Hasse does, and there's 2 away. That's the first strikeout now for Welch, and that'll bring up Dave Winfield.
Right field.
Here again, he's saving his off-speed pitches for Palarulo, and here he goes with another breaking ball down, and Mike's way out in front.
Here is a guy that's just having a superb year. Bob Welch now facing Dave Winfield. Winfield, second in batting average, not just in the American League, but in the Major League. Leading in RBIs with 44. He had a home run yesterday. What hasn't he done this year, Joe? Welch, first pitch popped up behind the plate. Hasse coming back. He may have room. He does. And so Bob Welch, another 3 up and 3 down inning. Welch off very effectively for these A's. The A's with the best record in baseball. Their third consecutive sellout, and Hasse has been a big addition to this Oakland club. The A's playing very, very well. Bottom of the second inning, Gary Bender, Joe Morgan, as Dave Parker will lead things off. Then Mark McGuire and Ron Hasse. That last play where Winfield popped up behind the plate again shows, Joe Morgan, how much foul territory there is here in the Oakland Coliseum.
Well, I think the reason for that is this was a football stadium as well. It's an all-purpose stadium, so you need the grass for football, but it also takes a lot of at-bats away from hitters.
Dave Parker, he's been hot. He's hit safely in 13 of his last 14 games, hitting .283 at game time. The Cobra starts him outside for ball 1. Parker's batted second numerous times. In fact, when they made that Eastern swing, he had a home run batting in the second position, straightaway center field in Fenway, and also in Yankee Stadium. Swinging strike, and the count goes to 1-1.
You know, earlier in the ball game, we were talking about, well, you can see the foul territory here, but we were talking about the addition of Bob Welch and all these things to the pitching staff. Don Baylor and Dave Parker add stability to the A's. They bring stability in the fact that they've all been on pennant contenders. They've been in World Series, and they understand what it takes to win, and they can settle some of these young players down. That's one of the reasons they brought Dave Parker here, along with the fact that he can drive in runs and hit the ball out of the ballpark.
1-2 on Dave. He's a very vocal guy. I know Tony La Russa telling me that he kind of keeps everybody loose.
Right. And you need that, especially if you go down the stretch in a pennant race that's very close and you have a lot of young players on the team.
Put that one under the armpits, and the count evens to 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bottom of the second inning, no score. Dodson grounded foul, and the count stays at 2-2.
Unlike a lot of hitters who come from the National League to the American League, Dave was not really having a lot of problems with the off-speed pitches. He was having problems with the ball inside because I think he was looking for the breaking ball, and they were busting him inside, and he could not get the bat out. Now he's starting to make that adjustment, and he's starting to swing the bat very well.
In fact, he'd swing a lot of those first pitches just to avoid that.
Right.
2-2, and it's high, and the count's full now. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Parker then gets out of the box, looks down to the third base coach, Jim Lefevre.
This is where Rich Dotson, to me, is at his toughest because he can throw the changeup over the plate any particular time.
Up the middle, Santana's over. Rafael Santana makes a fine play off to Gary Ward, and the leadoff man is erased here in the bottom of the second. Saturday on ABC Sports, we'll begin with a professional bowlers tour. It's the Showboat PBA Doubles Classic, live except on the West Coast. And then ABC's Wide World of Sports presents a figure skating spectacular. Brian Boitano, Katarina Vitt, Debbie Thomas, and more take to the ice in a night of Olympic champions, plus over 8,000 women compete in the mini marathon from New York City, featuring Joan Benoit Samuelson. Mark McGuire has one fair ball down the left field line. He'll hold up as coming in with the relay very quickly on that play, the left fielder, Henderson. He holds him to a single. That ball just inside the foul line.
as you see here, Mark McGwire gets out in front, and he hammers this ball down the third baseline. But you're going to see a great play by left fielder Ricky Henderson. That is normally a double, but Ricky Henderson gets to the line very quickly and holds Mark McGwire to a single. You see Mike Pagliarulo diving for it, but he doesn't have a chance to come up with it.
So McGwire on with one down, and that brings up Ron Hasse. There's Ricky. Ricky with that left hand probably helped him a little bit that time getting to the line.
Well, it does, and he's also very quick getting to the line here. He knows the stadium very well. He's played out there for a lot of years, so he knows how to play that left field carom.
Well, in '82, he set that stolen base record playing for the A's, 135th. Hasse has been a welcome addition to this ball club. He's rejuvenated those creaky knees and has hit very well for this ball club. And with the injury to Steinbach, I don't know where they'd be without him.
Well, he's been their most valuable player to this point of the season because of the injury to Steinbach. He's come in, and the thing that's impressed me the most about him is hitting the ball where it's pitched. They throw him away, he hits the ball to left field. They get it inside, and he jerks it.
That pitch misses, and no, that's over for a call strike, and it's 1-1 to Hasse. McGwire at first. Ward not holding him on. As far as stolen bases is concerned, it's all Canseco and Lansford. Canseco third with 17, Lansford with 8. McGwire taking his lead away at first. One down, 1-1. On Hasse, pitch out. He wasn't going. It's interesting. They thought they were going to send him.
Well, I think they were looking for a hit and run rather than a straight steal from Mark McGwire. One of the things about Hasse is that Billy Martin really would like to have him on his ball club. He says every time he leaves, they get rid of Hasse, and he goes someplace else and does a good job.
Well, they also got rid of Rick Cerrone, who's doing a pretty good job for the Red Sox. Nice foul, left field line. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hasse, after the game, iced both these knees down, as well as his right shoulder, which he's been having some problems with.
He's also been having problems with Rick Dotson there. With 115 batting average, that's not very good.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. McGwire takes his lead at first again. Ward is not holding him on. Now this foul, he's getting some pretty good cuts to Dotson.
Dotson is really deceptive in that a lot of these pitches look like they're fastballs, but they're really changeups, and he's just taken enough off to get the hitters out in front. And it looks like they're having good swings, but really they're out in front of the pitcher.
Thus far, he's given up 2 hits, 1 to Lansford, who was cut down at third. McGwire at first with the second hit of the game. Hasse, 2-2 count. And that'll go through the hole into left field for a base hit. McGwire will make the turn at second and hang on. And we have 2 men on with 1 down, and that's going to bring up Dave Henderson.
And that's what Ron Hasse has been doing all year. He's been hitting very well with 2 strikes. He goes the other way when he gets in trouble.
Well, he had 18 RBIs in the last 20 games, that time moving the runner over. And here is Henderson. What a surprise he has been, both offensively and defensively. Look at those numbers. 319, 5 home runs, 20 RBIs. Strong arm, and he'll run the ball down in center field.
Well, he's done a good job, as you say, all the way around. But I think the most pleasant surprise has been his hitting. I think they knew he could catch the ball in center field, but he's done very, very well hitting in the 5th and 6th spots in the lineup.
So 2 hits in the inning. McGwire leads off at second. Hasse at first. Dotson on the way with a pitch. And it's a ball. 1-0. Shows you how he's delivered in the clutch. This guy, of course, is the starting center fielder for the Red Sox, and then they made room for Ellis Burks, and he went on to the Giants, and there's the call strike, and it's 1-1. So to get a guy like Henderson is quite a bonus.
And most people will always remember the home run he hit in the League Championship Series that got the Red Sox into the World Series.
Ground is foul, third base side. That was Game 5 when he hit that home run. Then he went on to hit about 400 in the World Series. Started out with the Seattle Mariners, came to the Red Sox in that trade with Spike Owens. Of course, he's now the regular shortstop for Boston.
When you watch Rick Dotson, you go back to the things that Carney Lansford said about him at the beginning of the show. And that is he mixes his pitches well. 1 slow one, 1 fast one, 1 slow one.
Good cut, and the count stays at 1-2.
And he got away with a mistake there. He hung the curveball, and Dave Henderson had a good cut at it, but just fouled it back.
Tony La Russa, of course, as you look at Tony, knows Dotson very well because Dotson pitched for him when Tony was the skipper for the White Sox when they won the American League West in '83. That was when Dotson won 22 games. Says he's got a great heart. He'll battle you. Right now, he's in a battle. 2 runners on. And now, Skinner calls time. He'll go to the mound.
Well, I think Dotson feels that he has Dave Henderson set up for one pitch. And I think that may not be the pitch that they went over in the scouting report, and that's why Billy Martin is coming out. What happens is you go over hitters in your meetings and you say, well, I want to get this guy out. I don't want you to throw him a fastball with men in scoring position, or I don't want you to throw him a curveball, whatever the pitch may be. But a pitcher gets on the mound, and he feels like I can get the guy out with this pitch here. And the catcher's only doing what he was told by the manager. And so they have this confrontation, and then the manager comes out and decides and says, hey, throw what I told you. And it's that simple.
60-year-old Billy Martin, who grew up in the Oakland area, the Berkeley, California area, retreats to the dugout. 1-2 now to Henderson. Foul back. He is battling Dotson, and likewise, Dotson is battling him.
That was an excellent pitch from Dotson with a changeup low and away. And there wasn't much that Henderson could do with it other than foul it back.
So the count stays 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. Runners at first and second. No score, the bottom of the second inning. Looking back, Dotson drives McGuire back into second. They're not holding the runner at first. Hassey, who does not run well at all. McGuire runs pretty well for a big man. Henderson takes another cut and fouls it back. So the count stays 1 ball, 2 strikes. This Oakland team went back on that Eastern swing. They won the first game against the Yankees behind Bob Welch, then lost 2 of them. One of them was to John Candelario, who was just absolutely brilliant.
No chance that game. I think Dave Henderson is causing a lot of confusion to the Yankees here.
That's the 4th straight foul ball he's had. 1-2 pitch. High ball, right center field. Washington hustling over. Claudel makes the catch. The runners will have to hold, and there's 2 down.
That was a high fastball, and he got in a little bit on Dave Henderson's hands, and he wasn't able to drive the ball.
Gallego will come up. Mike Gallego, who was just scintillating yesterday. He made an unbelievable catch of a little blooper hit into short right field. Also smacked a home run Friday in that series with the Red Sox. We have Gaggs playing second base for Oakland and Pags playing third base for the New York Yankees.
A lot of nicknames.
So now with 2 down, that's going to go to the backstop. The runners will advance. McGuire to third. Hassey goes to second. Let's look at this one again to see what happened on this between Skinner and Dotson.
That's a
just
breaking ball.
pitch.
Yes, a curveball that bounces. Skinner does all he can. He tries to jump over in front of it, get his body in front, but the ball bounced away from him. That's a true Major League wild pitch.
So 1 ball, no strikes. Gallego. Weiss is on deck for the A's. McGuire with his lead at third. Fly ball, right field, going back towards the stands. Ward giving chase, but no play. Again, there's so much room over there, Joe. You just can't give up on
It
any
was
ball.
like he was running for 5 minutes. I mean, and he still had a shot at it.
Ward has pretty good speed. He can play the outfield, of course, as well as first base, but could not get to that one, and the count 1-1. Gallego played at UCLA. Pesky hitter. Very good defensive player. He and Glenn Hubbard been sharing second base. 1-1 high, and the count goes to 2-1. So Dotson in somewhat of a jam. McGuire at third. Hassey at second. 2 down. Bottom of the second, no score.
This is where the toughness that La Russa was talking about with Dotson comes in.
Right, and it's 2-2.
It's not very tough to pitch if you don't get anyone on base. But when you get guys in scoring position, can you make quality pitches? That's what separates the good pitchers from the average pitchers.
So Dotson, the 29-year-old right-hander now, the 2-2 count. Fly ball center field. Washington going back, still going back, and he makes the catch, and Dotson's out of the inning. So the A's are able to He had 2 base hits, but not able to score. And after 2, Dodson and the Yankees deadlocked. This year on ABC is called the Best Line of the Week, and it goes to Tim Leary, the right-hander for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who pitched a one-hitter against the Phils. This is a guy that really resurrected his career. He went down to Mexico, found a split-fingered fastball, Joe, and it has made him a very effective pitcher. He's pitching tonight for the Dodgers, and that is our ABC's Best Line of the Week. The only hit was Darren Dalton. And later tonight, we'll have ABC's Worst Line of the Week. That dreaded Worst Line of the Week. Gary Ward to the plate. Strike 1 on him, and this one misses, and the count goes to 1-1.
Gary Ward's always been a good hitter throughout his career, but he's really struggling this year. Gary usually hits the ball left center, right center, and he's been a pretty good hitter.
Hitting 200 coming into this game. 2-1 on him. Gary had a couple of excellent years for the Rangers. One year he had 28 home runs. He started out fast last year for the Yankees and faded after the All-Star break. 3-1 on Ward. Ward will be followed by Rafael Santana and then Joel Skinner, bottom third of the order.
Gary, I've seen Bob Welch pitch hundreds of times, I guess, and this is the most I've ever seen him stay on the outside corner.
That looks like a broken bat single to right. Sounded funny as Ward now, after a 3-1, laces one to right field. And Seiko brings it in, and that is the first hit of the game off of Bob Welch. Ward at first, Santana coming up. Welch works very quickly on the mound, wastes little time out there as Santana comes to the plate. Here's a guy that's out of Billy Martin's doghouse, I should say. He made a very critical error at the start of the season that handed the Yankees their first loss, but fought his way back and kind of stabilized them defensively.
Well, I think Santana's a very good Major League shortstop. He's played on a championship team with the Mets, so he's proven that he can play under the pressure of a pennant race.
Santana, starting shortstop for the Mets the last 3 years. 1 year he played in 153 games. Inside, and the count now 1-0. So Welch, the leadoff man on with a base hit. We're at the top of the third, no score. Santana, the play that really got him in trouble with Billy's, he messed up a sure double play, and it ended up being a 6-run inning, and the Yankees lost it. There's a move to first. And there was something publicly said about Billy. He acted like he didn't care if Santana ever played again, but he's worked his way back into the lineup.
Well, I think you have to give Martin credit for staying with the guy and saying, okay, if you prove to me you can play, I'll put you back in the lineup. And he's proved that he can play, and he's back in the lineup on an everyday basis.
Right call. 1-1 now on Santana. And that was the first direct trade ever made between the Yankees and Mets. Mets wanted to make room for Kevin Elster, who's now taken over at shortstop. 1 ball, 1 strike, and 1 on.
It's kind of tough to trade inner city like that, because if a guy goes over and does a great job, you're going to look bad for a long period of time.
You got to give Lou Piniella a lot of credit. This is one of the guys he's able to pick up along with Candelaria, Dodson.
There you see Walter Weiss on the left. He's giving the signal to Mike Gallego on who's covering the bag at second in case Ward tries to steal.
Usually in a situation like that, the veteran does that, right?
Right, but I guess Weiss is the regular player. He's the everyday player, so he's the one giving the signals now.
1 ball, 1 strike. I don't know if that hit the bat or what. Hassey wants to know. He's asking home plate umpire Rich Garcia.
I thought I heard something. I don't know if it was a bat or what, but I thought I heard some contact.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. Looks like it hit him, doesn't it?
Right, but I heard something.
Well, Hassey is still arguing with Rich Garcia, who's the crew chief. He's behind the plate. Dale Scott at first, Rick Reed at second, and John Hirschbeck, the third base umpire.
We'll take another look at it, but I don't think we're going to be able to tell. The ball does change its trajectory slightly.
Well, what we have is a 2-1 count. 2 balls to strike on Santana. Ward at first, being held on by McGuire. Throw back again. Ward has not stolen a base this year. Of course, he hasn't played all that much. It's all Ricky Henderson with his 34. Fouled back. The count evens at 2-2. Well, one thing it does, though, Joe, even though you don't steal any bases, well, the way they're calling balks nowadays, you still got to keep them at least occupied.
And Bob Welch really comes close to a balk, you know, because he does not always stop completely.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and it's full now. 3-2. Welch, 31 years of age. He played collegiately at Eastern Michigan University, where he's an All-American.
I think we'll get a chance to see now if he's still a gambler. Yes,
He was going, and he fouled it back.
You know, Billy Martin is an aggressive manager, so you would feel that he would send Gary Ward in this situation. 3 balls, 2 strikes, put the hit and run on.
Joe, that's a good point. In talking to the A's, they say, what do you think about when you think about Billy Martin? They said he'll try anything. He's always pushing, always looking for an angle and advantage.
But I think that also helps keep the players' minds on the game. It keeps them, makes them aggressive. If they know the manager's aggressive, the players will be aggressive.
Little lob throw to first. Skinner due up next. Santana at the plate, full count. Ward is going, and a pop-up short right field. Gallego going back on the outfield grass, and again looking up into the sun, but he's equal to it, and there's one down.
The sun is not as tough at second base as it is in right field, because at second base you're shielded a little bit by the rim of the stadium. In right field there's no shield.
So Joel Skinner will come up. Joel, an excellent defensive backstop. Hit his first home run on this swing. First in 104 at-bats. One down and a runner at first. This is inside, and the count goes 1 ball, no strike.
When you watch Bob Welch, he throws a hard curveball. And when you watch Rich Dotson, he throws a slow curveball. Rich Dotson uses his speed to be effective. Bob Welch uses the speed on his fastball and the break on his slider or hard curve to be effective.
Check of the runner and drives Ward back. Mike Ferraro is the first base coach for the Yankees. Skinner had a notion, tried to hang up, went around anyway.
That may be the best fastball Bob Welch has thrown in this ball game. That one had some giddy up on it.
You could hear it clear up here, couldn't you? Skinner, whose daddy was Bob Skinner. Quite a player himself and manager in the major league.
That was a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that Welch threw.
Welch taking his time. McGuire holding Ward at first. One down. Swing and a miss, and the count goes to 1-2. And he just challenged Skinner on the last 2. It's 90 again on that radar gun.
And Bob Welch has such a good fastball that he can challenge even the best hitters in the Yankee lineup. But he has to get the proper location. He can throw the high fastball. It's going to be tough for them to catch up with it. But if he throws that fastball in the middle of the plate to some of the big sluggers, they can catch it.
1-2 pitch. Struck him out. Second strikeout of the ball game. That'll bring the top of the order up, and Ricky Henderson, who
They call the balk.
Wait a minute, they're calling a balk?
Yep, they call the balk.
Well, Joe, this is your department.
Well, I think second base umpire Rick Reed called it.
That's 11 balks now on Welch this year. At second on the team, Dave Stewart has 12. So instead of a strikeout, now down at second base is Ward.
Well, as I said about Welch is in a hurry. He likes to pitch fast, and he goes to the plate very quickly. And sometimes he does not stop completely. That wasn't real bad there.
Yeah, I tell you, that's the reason I'm giving you that department on the box this year. I'll let you call him. Fly ball, right field. Canseco got a late jump on the ball, and that ball's up against the wall. Ward had to hold up, and he's going to have to hold up a third. He didn't know if that ball was going to be caught. Canseco, I don't know if he had lost it for a while or not, but he did not get a jump on that ball. Bounced up at the base of the wall, and now runners at second and third, and there's only one out.
Well, what happened really was Canseco plays very shallow, and he has a long way to go, and the ball is carrying very well. And as you see, the ball hits the base of the wall. I think it was more that he was playing shallow than actually the sun bothered him.
Well, what a big difference that ball makes. Instead of striking out Skinner, he had Ward at second. Skinner now doubles. Ward's at third, and now the top of the order in Ricky Henderson.
But you have to point out that Ward should have scored on that ball. It was a bad base running. You have to be a little over halfway, especially with one out. You're not really concerned about tagging up. He should have been halfway, and when that ball went over Canseco's head, he would have been able to score easily.
Third base coach Clete Boyer down there talking to Ward, who leads off Skinner at second. Henderson, who grounded out the first time, calls strike to Ricky.
Days are playing the infield back, so they're going to concede the run if Ricky hits it on the ground to one of the infielders. But Carney Lansford at third will have a play at the plate if he has the charges. But everyone else on the infield is way back.
0-1 pitch, fouls back. You know, it's amazing of all the balks we've had this year, Joe. On May 24th, last Tuesday, the entire Major League went without one balk.
That may be the only day that happens this year.
I think Welch would like to have had that happen right here. Really pitching now in a jam. One out, two on. 0-2 count now to Henderson. And line to second baseman Gallego. The runners get back in a hurry. Well, that's as good as a strikeout.
Well, it turns out that way. It was a good piece of hitting by Ricky Henderson. Actually, there was a breaking ball down and away, and he went the other way with it, but he didn't quite get it high enough. You'll see a good pitch by Bob Welch here. Breaking ball down and away, and Ricky Henderson does what you're supposed to do with it. Hits it to the opposite field, but it's right at the second baseman, Gallego.
Gallego's had a great series, hasn't he? He's been in the right place seemingly all the time.
He's a pretty good player. I think he has not had the opportunity in the major leagues to show how good he can actually be. He plays, you know, he's never played on a regular basis.
So now Meacham comes up with two down. Still the runners at second and third. Meacham the first time, slide out to right. They cut. This is where Randolph, you'd love to have him in the batting order.
Well, really, Randolph has proved over his career that he's a good clutch hitter. But I think you have here, you have a guy like Meacham, you have Skinner, and maybe Santana. And I believe that Welch figures he can just throw the ball by those three guys in the Yankee lineup.
Strike two. Welch popping the mitt now, throwing hard, trying to get out of this jam. Well, the A's had two hits back in the second inning. They did not score, and now the Yankees with two hits, and they still don't have anybody home.
And if the Yankees do not score, Gary Ward's going to be a goat here, so to speak.
You're not going to let him forget that, are you? They got him on a called third strike. What a job pitching out of the jam. Welch strands the runners at second and third, and there's no score as we go to the bottom of the third.
This is Corey McFerrin in New York. The leaders from the West and the East battling at Shea Stadium. First inning, the Mets waste a great opportunity. Two on, nobody out, but Tim Leary buckles down. Strikes out Dave Magadan. Next batter would be Darryl Strawberry. Take a seat, Darryl. Next, Kevin McReynolds strikes him out. Leary pays the side. Right now, top of three, there still is no score.
I tell you, he may get the ABC best line of the week again after the way he's pitching tonight.
Well, I don't think he wants to pitch out of that type of jam every at bat, though, every inning.
So it's no score as we go to the bottom of the third inning. Walt Weiss will lead things off, followed by the top of the order, Carney Lansford, and then Stan Javier. Weiss hitting .214, started to lift his average, and hitting the ball sharply. And his first pitch, hot on the line. Nice play that time by Meacham. No, wait a minute. They're saying he trapped it, and he did not make the throw, so Weiss will be safe at first.
No, they're going to have to get this correct. Because really the job of the umpires is to make sure that they get the play right. They don't have to worry about whether he saw it or not. I think the two umpires will get together.
Well, he did not throw to first, though, Joe.
Right. Well, Rick Reed was shielded from the play. He was the second base umpire. Watch, if you look to your left, we're going to be able to see that Rick Reed is behind Bobby Meacham, and he can't see. He thought the ball hit the ground. Well, he's not in the picture, but he's behind Bobby Meacham.
Well, the discussion going on. See what happened then is Meacham threw the ball around the horn, did not go to first. So White would be safe if, in fact, he did trap the ball.
Well, they're going to make a big mistake if they do not call him out, because someone on the infield should have seen that Bobby Meacham caught the ball. And the object is to get the play correct. It's not to, cover up for one of the other umpires.
Uh-oh, Billy's just been tossed out of the game.
And that's not
here
fair.
comes the dirt. Here comes the dirt. It's too muddy. You can't get the dust up.
Well, this is unfortunate because Billy is right, and he does have an argument coming here.
Well, let me ask you something, Joe. If you were Meacham, would you still throw it to first maybe just to be sure?
Well, what you have to do, and here again, is Willie Randolph was in the ball game. I'm sure he would have made the throw to first base. What you do, you catch the ball and you listen for the umpires to call the guy out. If you do not hear it, then you have to throw to first base. So I agree with you. Meacham did make a mistake, but he truly caught the ball in the air, and someone should have been able to see that.
Well, Billy, back to his home area, has just been tossed out of this ball game. Earlier this year, he kicked some dirt on Tim Welke, fined $300, and was booted out. He couldn't get the dust up in the air this time because the infield was still a little bit damp.
Well, I can see Billy getting tossed out of the ball game, but not to throw dirt on the umpire. But, of course he had an argument coming, in my opinion, and that's what he's doing.
So Weiss ends up with a base hit. Can you believe that? That's one of the most unusual base hits you'll ever see.
Well, that's another mistake. We'll get a look at it here. We'll see Bobby Meacham move to his right. Now he waits for the ball, and you can see he clearly catches the ball in the air.
You really think so? On that one, I'm beginning to wonder.
No,
you
he
really
caught the ball in the air. Yes, he caught the ball in the air. All you have to do is know how he caught the ball. It's the glove. The way the glove is turned, you can only catch it in the air.
Well, let's look at it from this angle.
His glove was not turned down to catch the short hop. It was in the air. His glove is turned sideways.
You're right, Joe.
It has to be turned down to catch a short hop.
Well, I guess you ought to know, if anybody, you've been in that situation.
Yes, and you have to turn it down. But I cannot understand how they could call it a hit, because it's really a mental mistake.
Well, that's what it is, though.
Yeah, but you can give an error on a mental mistake. It's up to the scorekeeper's discretion. It's like when a ball's hit in the outfield and two guys converge on it, they let it drop in between them. Someone usually gets an error.
Excuse me, Joe. Clete Boyer now has taken over in the absence of Martin. Weiss goes back to first. Lansford is singled and then was able to advance to second on the throwing error and was cut down on third on a beautiful throw from center by Claudell Washington. Lansford hitting .399 right now after that hit the last time. Could go over 400 with a base hit here.
Well, I guess we could not come back to Oakland with Billy Martin and not have some fireworks.
To be exact, he'd be at .402 if he would get a base hit. Well, Billy, coming back home, start the series, is out of it. There's a base hit, and he's now at .402. Making the turn is Weiss. He's headed to third. The throw, he's out. So 2 times, A's base runners have been cut down at third. You don't mess with Winfield out in right field.
Well, Dave Winfield has done this numerous times in his career. As we see, Weiss goes in head first, and we'll see the tag, late tag, applied by the third baseman there.
Tag?
Yeah, Pag.
Well, Winfield, with as fine an arm as there is in big league ball, looks like he said, all right, you're going to take one away from Meacham, I'll get it back. And he did at third base. At first, though, with a base hit, his second of the game is Lansford. 5 hits now for the A's. They still haven't gotten anybody home. Well, we've seen some very unusual play in these first 3 innings, haven't we? Big lead at first by Lansford. Lansford with 8 stolen bases this year. 4 of 8. Caught 4 times. Javier at the plate. Stan slide to center the first time. 2 plays at third, and the A's have been cut down. Fly ball center field. Washington giving ground. He'll put it away. And retreating back to first is Lansford. Let's go back now and recapture Winfield and how he was able to cut down Weiss headed to third.
Not only his arm, but he charges the ball, and he gets the throw away very quickly, as you see here. And he keeps it low so that the shortstop, Santana, could cut it off and hold Carney Lansford to first, and the throw is right on the money.
Well, Dave Winfield has just been a complete player all year long. For that matter, his entire career. As now Canseco comes up. He was called out on strike. Winfield having one of those MVP-type years. Second in batting in the American League. Leading in RBIs. Pitch inside to Canseco. Jose is in the top 10 in 7 offensive categories in the American League. Number 1 in runs. 3 in RBI. Tied for first in home runs with Kent Herbeck of Minnesota. 1-0 pitch. Misses, and it's 2-0, and Skinner goes to his knees to come up with that one. But Jim Lefevre must wonder what he's got to do to get somebody in at third base. He's had 2 of his guys cut down at the third base bag.
Well, Lefevre's an aggressive coach, and I think if you're a manager, you want your coaches to be aggressive. Because, as I said, if you start to be aggressive, your players will be, and that's what the Oakland A's have tried to do all year long, and most of the time they've made it.
Canseco hit sharply to short, but the force is second, and the Yankees, after some controversy, get out of the inning with no damage. We played 3 at the Oakland Coliseum. Most interesting ball game. No score between the 2 teams with the best records in baseball. Baseball. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Well, if this is a preview of the American League Championship Series, Joe Morgan, we've had some fireworks in the first 3 innings. We've had Billy Martin tossed out, 2 runners erased at third base, a controversy at second, and we're just getting started.
Yes, we are. I tell you, one of the other things you have to look for now, if I'm a hitter, is the shadow that's creeping over home plate. Once the batter gets completely in the shadows and the pitcher's in the light, it becomes very tough.
Claudell Washington at the plate. He grounded out at second the first time. So we welcome everybody to the Oakland Coliseum. 2 teams with the best records in baseball, and right now after 3 it's scoreless. So we've had some fireworks for a game that has not produced a run. Dave Winfield cut a runner down at third. Claudell Washington cut a runner down at third. A controversy on a ball at second. And Bob Welch, who thus far has given up 2 hits. Pitching to Claudell Washington, and the count now goes to 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bob Welch got into a jam, giving up 2 hits in the inning. He escaped, as did his counterpart, Richard Dotson. And Joe Morgan, it's been the kind of game where these 2 clubs are just kind of slugging it out with each other. You can tell they're kind of looking down the stretch, what might eventually evolve into the American League Championship Series.
Well, you're looking at East Coast and West Coast, and I think that has a lot to do with what's going on here as well. The fans here do not like the Yankees.
Ground ball over second. Walter Weiss comes up throwing. And another thing we should add is that Billy Martin was tossed from the game, and it evolved around the play at second when they said that Bobby Meacham trapped the ball. Billy tossed from the game, and Billy, who of course grew up in Berkeley, California, returning home, but didn't get the kind of homecoming he desired.
Well, I think Billy Martin got a little bit upset here. Like I said, I thought he had a gripe coming because I feel like Bobby Meacham caught the ball as well. But as they say, you can only go so far. And Billy stepped over that line.
But what really erased that, though, was Winfield cut down Weiss, who tried to move from first to third. And so it really did not hurt the Yankees, except they now have Clete Boyer in charge. As you look at Jack Clark, Clark grounded out to the shortstop the first time. 1 down, top of the 4th, no score. A sellout crowd for the 3rd consecutive day for Oakland. They're talking, Joe, about having over 2 million in attendance this year. That would be a record for the Bay Area.
Well, they have a very exciting ball club. They're playing very well, and that's what brings fans out.
Clark, high fly ball, short right field. Canseco coming in. Gallego back. Looked like they were kind of wanting to see who's going to take that. Little indecision. Canseco makes the catch, and as we've talked before, Joe, it's pretty treacherous in right field right now with the sun.
And I think that's why Mike Gallego went so far out. He wanted to give Canseco as much help as he could, but Canseco had it all the way.
So there's 2 up and 2 down.
I think Jack Clark was the last hitter to be able to hit under normal conditions. Now you have the shadows from the stadium over home plate.
And the way Welch has been firing a lot of 90-plus mile-per-hour fastballs, that'll make it even tougher.
Right. When you come out of the sunlight into the shadows, it's really kind of like walking into a dark room at first. It gives you time to give yourself.
Well, we showed you Martin getting tossed. Here's the reason. See Bobby Meacham playing in place of the injured Willie Randolph. He thought he caught it and did not make a throw at first. They say he trapped it, and Weiss was awarded a base hit.
Which I still don't understand why it was a base hit, but Bobby Meacham should have thrown the ball to first base if he did not hear an out call from the umpire.
Allarula at the plate, swing and a miss. And the count now even to 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hags, the first time, went down swinging in the second inning.
These shadows, these shadows actually favor Bob Welch because he is the hard thrower of the 2.
Little half swing goes back, and the count goes to 2-2.
And what the ball actually looks like is when he releases the ball, it looks like fuzz coming towards you. You can't really see the stitching on the ball to see if it's going to break. You can't see if it's a fastball, and it's just a piece of fuzz coming towards you, and all of a sudden it's by you.
Late again. Count stays at 2-2. Bob Welch, of course, coming over in that trade, that 3-way trade with the Dodgers and Mets. When he was a rookie, his locker mate, his rookie year, was Tommy John. Of course, Tommy at the ballpark today as the Yankees on this long 12-game road trip. 2-2 with 2 out. Rounded to second. Gallego will come up to McGuire. And it's a very quiet inning for the Yankees here in the top half of the 4th inning. Bob Welch having some problems earlier, but right now settled down, and there is no score. 0-0 as we go down to the bottom of the 4th inning here at the Oakland Coliseum, the A's and Yankees. So Dotson will face Dave Parker as we go to the bottom of the 4th. He'll be followed by Mark McGuire and Ron Hasse. Parker the first time grounding out to the shortstop. Dave making the transition to the American League after so many fine years in the National League. He likes these smaller ballparks, doesn't he?
Yes. He also said the toughest things that he's had to adjust to have been the pitchers, which is natural, but also the strike zone. He says he has not been able to really adjust to the strike zone in this league yet.
Blended in very well, this veteran. And the pitch now makes it 2-0. 2 balls, no strikes. Parker has played left field this year, as well as DHing, which he's doing today. He has really come along very well. And now, all of a sudden, 3-0. Dotson falls behind the leadoff man in the bottom of the 4th.
Tony La Russa has let some of these guys hit away in this situation, but Dave takes the ball.
Well, that's the first walk of the ball game. And McGuire will come up, who singled. Last time up. McGuire looking for his first home run in 10 games. 11 for the year. His brother Dan, we're talking before the game, transferring to San Diego State. He was a quarterback at the University of Iowa. Will stay out a year and then play for San Diego State. And there's a pitch going high, and all of a sudden now, Dotson's thrown 5 that have not found the plate.
Well, he seems to be overthrowing the ball all of a sudden, but I think it's because he can see the shadows, and he knows that fastball will be tough to hit. So I think he's trying to use the fastball, but I think he's overthrowing it right now.
And he misses again. It's 2-0.
Also, these 2 big hitters there could have something to do with it. He wants to make sure he gets the ball in the proper location.
Boy, this part of the order, it looks like an NFL defensive forward wall, doesn't it?
Their whole lineup does.
2-0 on McGuire. Ward holding Parker at first. Ground ball short. Santana has trouble digging it out. He gets the lead runner. McGuire safe at first. Raphael couldn't get the ball out of the glove that time.
Well, I think he was always going to get Dave Parker on that play because Dave was going in to break up the double play. He was going after Meacham, as we'll get a look here at Santana. He goes in the hole. He has the ball. He has an easy chance to get the force play, but he can't get out of his glove. But you'll see here Dave Parker is going for the second baseman and not second base.
I want to tell you something. Parker comes after you at second. You know he's there, right, Joe?
I've stood there a lot of times and wish I was someplace else.
Hasse now at the plate as he singled the last time. They had 2 base hits. The A's did in the second, didn't score a run. Likewise, in the third for the Yankees. Some missed opportunities. Ron Hasse, the veteran, who last year played with the White Sox for 46 games. Seeing a lot of action. Harry Steinbach, who is an outstanding young catcher for the A's, expected back on Friday. Had a very strange injury, a eye injury during batting practice. High fly ball, center field. Waddell Washington under it. He's been a busy man out there. He puts it away, and there's 2 away. This Sunday begins on ABC Sports with auto racing action, the Milwaukee 200. Michael Andretti leads the field live, except on the West Coast. Then it's Mutual of Omaha's Spirit of Adventure. Join a daring expedition that embarks on an Antarctic odyssey. All begins at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central and Pacific this Sunday on ABC Sports. You're going on one of those, aren't you? The Mutual of Omaha Adventures? You pick your place. We'll send you. 2 down now. McGuire still down at first. The batter, Dave Henderson. Henderson wide out to center field the last time. Dave has really solidified that center field position, an area of concern for the A's at the start of the year. There's a shot deep to left field. That ball is hooking foul. Out ahead of it, Dave Henderson.
Well, he took a little off the pitch, and that's why Dave got out in front. But that's what Rich Dawson does so well. Here's the pitch. It's an off-speed pitch, change up, and he gets a little bit out in front. Hit it well, but a little bit out front, pulled it foul.
Symmetrical Park here, 330 down the line, 375 in the power alley. There's Henderson wishing he had that one back and straightened it out a little more. 400 straightaway center. The ball does not carry all that well, especially at night here in the Oakland Coliseum.
This is definitely not a home run hitter's ballpark.
Oh, that was a tantalizing breaking pitch, but it missed, and it's 2-1. 2 balls a strike. 2 down. Bottom of the 4th, the runner at first in McGuire. That's Ward holding him on. Dave, a good cut, and that'll even it up at 2-2.
You mentioned about this not being a good home run hitter's ballpark, but when you have Canseco and McGuire and Parker and these guys, they can make it look like a home run hitter's ballpark.
Skinner will go out to talk with Dotson once again. On deck, Gallego for the A's. Mike, who's just played marvelously well in this series defensively. Not a very big guy, but he got his first home run Friday night in that series with the Red Sox. And Tony La Russa. Talking to Jim Lefebvre about this guy, he says he's never been around a guy that is so well organized. He does not miss a thing. 2-2 pitch. And this will be fouled back into the stand.
I think he's done a tremendous job with this Oakland A's team, not just this year because they're in first place, but also last year. They started off very poorly, and they had a chance of going downhill from that point. But he kept their confidence up, and eventually they became a contender last year. They fell out of the race late in September, but he established that they could win, and he came back this year, and he's just doing a tremendous job for the A's.
Ground ball to short. Santana's over. They'll get the force at second, and that will take care of the Oakland A's here in the bottom of the 4th inning. We still have no score as Dotson against Welch. 5 hits by Oakland, 2 for the Yankees. We go to the top of the 5th. Playing in his first year with the New York Yankees. Took this pitch hit by Tony Arman.
into the left field wall, makes the catch, and Dave Winfield, in his book, A Player's Life, said that was the highlight of his career. And interestingly enough, Joe Morgan, it came at a time when he was not hitting well. He went on to go 1 for 22 in the World Series that year.
Well, I think it points out what you said. Dave has been a complete player, and he's worked to be a complete player all of his career. And I would have to agree with him. That might be the best catch of any left fielder's career.
He struggled in that series with the A's, struggled in the World Series. Here he slices one back foul, and the count goes to 0-2. Winfield popped up to the catcher the first time. Dave, second in the major leagues in batting average. Palmeiro, who leads the National League, is not as high as he is. And, of course, Lansford, who's now over 400 at this juncture after 2 hits tonight, leading everyone, as this time he swings late and fouls it back.
One of the things that Bob Welch is still doing very effectively against the sluggers in the Yankee lineup, meaning Clark and Winfield and Pagliarulo, he is definitely keeping the ball away from them. He is making them reach for the ball. And I think Dave Winfield and both Jack Clark realizes that Bob Welch can pitch them inside with the fastball, so they don't lean out there too much.
This is outside, and the count goes to 1-2. Welch beating the Yankees on May 20th back in Yankee Stadium. Then the Yankees winning the next 2. You can see now how the shadow's creeping out almost to the mound, making it even tougher.
Right, and it becomes very tough, especially when...
There's a shot to left center field, way back, and it's out of here. Had to wait. Javier made a valiant try at the wall, but Winfield, his 12th home run of the year.
Bob Welch has been pitching Dave Winfield away, and finally Dave went out and got one. That's exactly what happened there.
So now Canseco, Herbeck, Incaviglia, and Winfield are tied for the American League lead with 12 home runs. Incaviglia hitting one earlier today. Strike call.
We're going to look at it. You see Winfield goes out. The ball is away, and he goes out and drives it into left center field. When you're that big and strong, you can do that.
Watch Javier as he goes up there at the last moment. Made quite a try at the wall, just couldn't quite pull it down. 1-1 now on Ward. Ward single. The last time up. Ground ball to short. Weiss will come up throwing. 1 out. Let's go back again. I want to see Javier's effort. Number 28 is Javier, the left fielder. Let's watch it.
Maybe he saw Dave Winfield's catch in the top of the inning, and he tried to do the same thing, almost.
Good effort.
And he thought he might have it. He had to look in his glove to make sure.
Well, that's what I looked at. Yeah, I thought he may have had the catch, too. He checked the glove, but it was not there. So the 12th home run of the year for Winfield. Santana ground to short. Weiss coming up. Carbon copy of the play before. And there's 2 down. That'll bring up Joel Skinner, batting 9th in the order.
I think one of the reasons both of these teams are in first place in their division is because they both have dominant players. By that I mean a guy like Winfield, Clark, Mattingly. These are dominant players. They can carry you for a long period of time. See, good players can carry you for a week or 2, but these guys can carry you for a whole season. And the A's have Canseco, McGuire, and Parker, the same type of players.
Skinner laces that one to right. Canseco for a moment indecisive, but comes in and makes the catch, and that retires the side. But the Yankees jump on top 1-0. Dave Winfield with his 2nd home run in as many days as we go down to the bottom of the 5th. Gary Bender along with Joe Morgan. Dave Winfield just hit his 12th home run of the year off of this guy, Bob Welch. And Welch, you could see, disgusted. He had a 1-2 count on Winfield when he rifled it out. 5th home run of the year that Bob Welch has given up. And that's the difference of the ball game now. 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Gallego leading things off, followed by Weiss and Lansford. 1-0 pitch, grounded foul. You know what's interesting, Joe? We watched Winfield in batting practice. He didn't
Right.
hardly get the ball in the air.
We both commented on the fact that he was hitting all ground balls to shortstop. And that ball went over shortstop. It just had a little more elevation on it than the ones he was hitting in batting practice.
What a year this man is having. He's been embraced by the New York fans in his 8th year with the Yankees. That book has caused a lot of controversy, but maybe has spurred him on.
Well, I think Dave is a competitor, and he's written a book. He's gotten criticized by some people for it, and he's not going to let them beat him. He's going to show them that he can still play.
1-2, and Gallego stays alive, fouling it down the first base side.
And as I mentioned before, sometimes when you play 10, 15 years in Major League, sometimes you need a little something to spur you on a little bit. And I think this book has really helped Dave more than it's hurt him.
1-2, and the count goes to 2-2. There's some thought, Joe, and you would know, that they was taking a lot of energy for Dave, making appearances for the book, distractions, but evidently not so.
Well, when I talk to him, concentration is the key to being a good hitter or a good defensive player. You have to be able to concentrate. And sometimes when you get tired, your concentration goes. But Dave obviously has been able to keep his concentration level up, and that's why he's doing so well.
Drafted by the NBA, the NFL, and of course went to baseball. Gallego pops this one up, third base side. Coming over Skinner, he's got it. So the first man is erased here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. That'll bring up Walt White. We talked about the room and foul territory. As you mentioned, Joe, this is a football ballpark as well, and that's the reason for it. And Skinner going back, having a lot of room. You wouldn't get to that one in a lot of ballparks.
Normal ballparks, that's about 30 rows deep.
Weiss was singled, then was cut down by Winfield, trying to go from first to third on a base hit by Lansford.
He was credited with a single.
You're still hanging on to that one,
Yeah.
aren't you? You don't give him credit for that one at all. 0-1 now on White. Foul back. Weiss, of course, the rookie. And it's interesting to note, Joe, that on only 3 occasions since they've had division play, the team been able to win the division with a rookie shortstop. One of those guys, you might remember, is Dave Concepcion with the Reds in '70.
Right. I think one of the things that you're going to have to wait to see with Walt Weiss.
Meacham stays with it all the way, and there's 2 out.
One of the things you have to wait and see is if he can play down the stretch. You can play in April and May, you play a certain way. When you get in a pennant race, August, September, everything changes. There's more emphasis on fielding the ground ball. There's more pressure on you. And anyone that says you play the same way in September as you did in April and May has not been through a pennant race. And once you go through a pennant race, it takes that long.
Lansford hitting now .402, 2 for 2 on the day. 82 hits on the year. Carney having one of those kind of years that, boy, you just wonder what it's going to evolve into. Of course, he led the majors in hitting back in '81.
And he has a lifetime average of over 290, so this is not a fluke. He's been a consistent hitter throughout his career.
2-0. You know, this guy has never been in an all-star game,
which is amazing. He's never won a Gold Glove either, and he's a very good defensive third baseman.
2-0 on Lansford, and popped up in the infield. Who's going to take this one? The last moment, Santana, and looked to me like he had a summit meeting on that one. And so now, after the out, Lansford's average drops to 400. 1-0, the Yankees, after 5. The New York Yankees with a 1-0 lead as we go to now the top half of the 6th inning. Want to remind you that you'll be staying with us now for the remainder of this game due to the limitations of time and also the rain situation in Shea Stadium in that game between the Dodgers and the Mets. But we promise you one thing. We'll keep you posted on that game. Should it resume, we'll let you know what's going on. Right now, no score in that game. Right now, the difference in this ball game is Winfield's 12th home run of the year. Ricky Henderson leading things off now for the Yankees, followed by Bobby Meacham and Claudell Washington.
Bob Welch has thrown so many strikes on the outside corner that a lot of hitters are starting to question the umpire on the pitch, but he is hitting the outside corner consistently throughout the ball game, and I think that is why he's been able to keep the Yankees at bay.
Thus far, Welch has given up 3 hits. The mistake he made to Winfield, the difference. On the other hand, Dotson's given up 5 hits in this game. Ricky Henderson not happy about that last pitch, now behind 0-2.
But here again, Bob Welch hits the outside corner with a good fastball. I think the mistake he made to Winfield was he did not come inside one time to get him off the plate. I don't think it was the pitch itself. He had pitched him away and been successful, but every once in a while you have to keep these big hitters honest. And if he would have come off the plate inside and then went back away, I think he would have been all right. But finally, after staying away, Winfield went out, got the fastball, and drove it out of the ballpark.
On a 1-2 count. And that's what we have on Henderson right now. Henderson 0 for 2. He's lined out, grounded out, fouls this one back. Ricky went 11 games without stealing a base until last night. And against the Mariners, he was able to pick up 2. Leads all of the majors in stolen bases with 34. And, of course, back home, this is where he set that record. 130 stolen bases in 1982. Welch on the 1-2 pitch. Ground ball, eats up. Weiss comes up throwing. And a beautiful recovery by the rookie.
That is a great play. And especially when you realize that a guy like Ricky Henderson is running down the first baseline. He knows he has no time to really grasp the ball properly, so he just picks it up and throws it. He might have even grabbed it across the seam or with the palms of his hand. He stays in front of the ball, first of all, which is the way you're supposed to do it. Now he pounces on it. Look at that. He just gets rid of the ball very quickly. Off balance. That is a major league play. He can play shortstop.
Well, La Russa said, I don't care if he hits 100. If he could just make the plays defensively, and that's the kind of play they're looking for. He did commit 2 errors yesterday, but in all fairness to him, the wind blowing yesterday caused one of them. There's a bunt attempt by Meacham. Coming up, Carney Lansford. He can't make the play. Looks like he and Welch ran into each other.
Well, that's exactly what happened. Really, it's Carney Lansford's play because he has the angle to make the throw to first base. Bob Welch is running away from first base. But I think really what happened is he got in Carney's way, and I think he's also injured here maybe a little bit on the play. Watch him get in Carney's way. See, Carney has the play, but now he's distracted by Bob Welch, and he cannot come up with the play. Welch has called out the trainer. Barry Weinberg is out checking Bob Welch. I don't know exactly what happened, but they called the trainer out immediately, and Barry Weinberg came running out of the dugout.
Well, that'll go as the base hit, the 4th hit given up by Welch. He's going to get some warm-up pitches now. Looks like Lansford might have got hit in the head, but I didn't see what happened to Bob Welch on the play.
Well, he jumped to avoid Carney Lansford, and he might have come down off balance and sprained some part of his body.
So Meacham playing in place of the injured Randolph is down at first with 1 down. And Washington will come up. Claudel 0 for 2, but Claudel making a beautiful play defensively from center field to cut down a runner back in the 1st inning when he cut Carney Lansford down. Left-handed batter standing in against Welch. 1-0, the Yankees. Again, for you who are expecting to see the Mets and Dodgers, they have a rain delay, but we will keep you posted on that game. Doesn't rain very often here in Oakland. In fact, they have a little water shortage right now. Driving him back in, McGuire holding the runner at first.
It's become a little easier for the hitters to pick the ball up from Bob Welch now that he is also in the shadows, as before, you know, he was in the sunlight and the hitters were in the shadows. Now both the hitter and the batter's in the shadows. You can see a little better.
The runner going and foul back. So the count goes to 0-1 on Washington. Let's go back and try to reconstruct how Welch may have been shaken up on this play.
Well, you see Lansford's charging, and watch, you'll see Welch land there. He jumped out of his way, and it looked like he limped a little bit afterwards. Maybe he sprained his right side because he came down on his right leg.
Able to continue now. Meacham leading off first. He's going again. There's a pitch. Hassy's throw to Gallego is late, and the stolen base to Bobby Meacham. That's his 5th of the year. So he's in scoring position with 1 down.
Little Steve Meacham, and he doesn't use the crossover step, but he gets a pretty good jump at first base, and he easily beats the throw from Ron Hassey.
So Bobby down at 2nd down. The count 0-2 on Claudel Washington. Now Rich Garcia, the home plate umpire, headed over to the Yankee dugout.
Maybe he spotted Billy Martin back there after he tossed him out. Now, he's going to tell, I guess, well, what is it? He and Clark are discussing something. Here he goes. Discussion going on. That's Santana. Clete Boyer, number 6, is the acting manager. Somebody got Garcia's attention.
And I don't really understand why.
Well, Boyer, with that familiar number 6 on the back of his uniform, now in place of Billy Martin coming out trying to smooth some feathers. Well, Garcia's smiling, so evidently things are okay.
Well, that's because Clete has done a good job on him. He's done a good selling job there of saying, hey, I'm the manager. I'll conduct the business from third base.
So the homecoming for Billy Martin was short-lived here. He is in the shower right now, or at least somewhere out of sight. 0-2 now to Claudell Washington. Meacham at second. Now misses, then the count goes 1-2. Going to go back now and see why all of this may have caused Garcia some problems. Billy Martin, that was involving Bobby Meacham. Meacham caught the ball. They say he trapped it. Weiss is awarded a base hit. Billy came out. He had a quick exit. Clete Boyer took over, and that's where we are. That was back in the 3rd inning, if you weren't with us earlier in this broadcast. Stay around. We've had some things happen. There's a swinging 3rd strike. Washington is registered as the 2nd out, and that'll bring up Jack Clark, who's 0 for 2.
But I also must add to the viewers who were not with us, really Billy Martin had an argument because Bobby Meacham did catch the ball, but it was called a trap, and Billy was very upset.
Understand that game in Shea now. The Mets, who have lost 4 of 6 at home, now lead that one 2-0 against the Dodgers.
And Tony La Russa has come out to check Bob Welch again. The last thing he wants to do is have Bob Welch pitching with something bothering him because it can put a strain on his arm, and he can be out for the whole season and possibly ruin his career. So La Russa is very, upset about the fact that he's not sure of whether Welch is 100% or not. He wants him only to pitch if he's 100%, and that's why he came out to check with Bob Welch one more time.
I tell you, you better be 100% with this guy at the plate, Jack Clark. Clark grounded out, wide to right. Well, the A's bullpen has been magnificent. They lead the majors with 24 saves, but nobody up and warming up right now. There's Meacham at second. Fastball strike.
And again, he hits the outside corner with the fastball. And he's been able to do that all night.
Jack looking around. Boy, this guy is tough. He's tough mentally, and he is playing well in the New York area. And hopefully here tonight, he opens in Oakland and evens it to 1-1.
I think you hit the nail on the head. He is tough mentally. And that's what it takes to be a good, strong slugger, because Jack will strike out a lot, but he doesn't let it get him down. He is a tough competitor.
If he can stay healthy, missing 268 games in the last 4 years. You wonder what would have happened if he'd have been healthy in the World Series. 1-1 now from Welch. Got a piece of it, and the count goes to 1-2.
But again, it was not a pitch that Jack could really handle well. Fastball on the outside corner, or maybe a little off, but Welch is staying out there consistently.
Talking to Clark, would you look at it again?
We'll get a look at it, as you see, right out on the outside corner again. And that is something different from the way Bob Welch pitched in the National League. He would pitch inside and out. So far tonight, he stayed on the outside corner.
Just missed it. That brings up a good point, Joe. As you look at the National League, they will pitch you tight more than they do in the American League.
Right, they do use the fastball inside a lot more. And Bob Welch did the same thing. But I guess changing leagues, he's changing his style.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Clark, and it's full now. It's 3-2.
And all of a sudden, on that pitch, you saw Jack Clark go out to get the fastball. And that's what Dave Winfield finally did. You stay away, 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 and eventually the hitter will have to go out there to get the ball because he knows you're not coming inside.
Now, Clark has walked 37 times. That's second in the American League. Only Wade Boggs has walked more. 3-2.
I think if Bob Welch throws a fastball inside, he may hit Jack Clark on the arm because Jack's going out to get this pitch.
2 out. The runner at second, Meacham, will be moving on the 3-2.
And now we back out as Clark gets some dirt on the hands and Welch backs off the rubber. Misses. He walked it. So 2 runners are on now. And that'll bring up Calorillo, who has struck out and grounded out.
Third baseman
So Welch
Calorillo.
getting a little bit of a jam now with 2 down.
You showed the graphic of Jack Clark hitting .600 against Bob Welch last year. Bob Welch knows that as well. So he was not going to give Jack Clark a pitch that he thought Jack could handle there.
Well, Pags has been hitting well, 7 of 15 on this road trip since that 0 for 17 slump. And this guy can drive in the runs. He's got a chance to do so now. First pitch, right down the middle for a strike. Meacham at second. Clark at first. 1-0 Yankees. We're in the top of the 6th with 2 down. There is Clark, number 33. Welch throwing hard, misses on this one. It evens at 1.
Some viewers may wonder why would he walk Jack Clark, a right-handed hitter, to get to Pags, the left-handed hitter who's hitting very well. Well, he knows what Jack Clark can do with his fastball. He is not convinced yet that, Pags can handle him. And until he convinces him, he will pitch around Jack Clark.
Fly ball foul down the left field line. Well, last year, this guy led the Yankees in home runs with 32. He did strike out 111 times. Earlier this year, he had 7 RBIs in a game against the Texas Rangers. A career high. And right now, he'd like to pick up 2 more. 2 out, 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Welch throwing hard right now, has still no activity in the A's bullpen.
When a pitcher like Bob Welch gets in trouble, he's going to go to his best pitch. His best pitch is his fastball, and that's what he's using on Pags right now. He's not going to get beat with his second best pitch.
2-2 from Welch. And it's full, so the second consecutive batter now. He's run the count full. He lost Clark, and now Calorillo with a 3-2 and 2 out.
And Dave Winfield on deck.
The runners with their lead. They'll be going, obviously, with 2 out and a full count. Foul back, and we'll start it all over again. Meacham will return to second. Clark goes back to first base. The shadow now almost has completely engulfed the infield as there's the guy standing on deck who hit the home run the last time. So he has 2 home runs in the last 2 days.
And this is a very crucial pitch in the ball game for Bob Welch.
3-2. He struck him out. And Pags flings the bat. A missed opportunity for the Yankees. Welch stays close. He trails 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning.
In New York, playing ball again at Shea after a 34-minute rain delay. Mets scored twice in the bottom of 3. Here, Darryl Strawberry takes Tim Leary deep left field. The ball barely fair. Dave Magadan around third. He's going to score. Gives the Mets a 2-0 lead. Now the top of the 4th inning of play. Gary, back to you.
Corey, thank you very much. So 2-0 there, 1-0 here as we switch from one coast to the other. What a gorgeous day this is here on this Memorial Day. We hope it's been a very pleasant Memorial weekend for you and our extended weekend here on ABC. Javier will lead things off. Welch pitching out of quite a jam, striking out Pags with 2 men on as the Yankees, on the strength of Dave Winfield's home run, have the advantage. The A's carrying a 5-game winning streak into this game. Dotson protecting the 1-0 lead. Starts him out with a slow breaking pitch, and he gets it over for a strike. Javier to be followed by Canseco and Parker. Rounded foul, and the count goes to 0-2.
As you see, the 2 pitchers, they're almost complete opposites. Rich Dotson best pitches are his slow curveball and his changeup. So he uses those two pitches effectively. Bob Welch's best pitch is his fastball. So you're seeing really from one side of the spectrum to the other. But they both get the job done.
Dotson with a 5-1 record. 0-2 pitch misses. Dotson on that 83 team with the White Sox was 22-7, but he was bested by a teammate, Lamar Hoyt, who was the Cy Young Award winner when Tony La Russa was the manager. Going for his 100th career win, and did he go around? He did. A strikeout for Dotson. Well, there's never been in the history of the Major Leagues a man steal 40 bases and hit 40 home runs. Jose Canseco feels he could possibly do it.
People think it's going to be more difficult for me to steal 40 bases. I think it's going to be vice versa. I think it's going to be easier for me to steal 40 bases, basically because I've gotten the green light. This year I've stolen 17 bases, and a lot of times I've gotten the red light to steal third. So, you know, I think it's going to be easier to steal 40 than to hit 40 home runs.
One pick up on that is a pitch now to Jose for a strike. You said something interesting, Joe. You feel takes a lot out of you trying to steal that many bases.
Well, it's a lot of wear and tear, especially for a big guy like Canseco. But I agree with him. It's easier for him to steal 40 bases than it will be for him to hit 40 home runs.
There's a line shot to left field for a base hit. Jose will make the big turn. Slidell Washington cuts it off, relays it back in. It's a base hit for Canseco, and that's the 6th hit of the game for the Oakland A's.
And I think you'll get an opportunity to see here how much confidence he has in himself as a base stealer, because they're 1 run down, 1 out, and he has an opportunity here to try to steal a base if he wants to.
Well, he's third in the American League with 17, as Parker will come to the plate. Parker 0 for 1 with a walk, grounded out back in the 2nd inning. Well, you would know better than anybody. You, a couple of years, Joe, you have 67 stolen bases?
That was the high for me, yes.
And you were talking about you don't realize how it beats up your hand, and it makes it tough to bat.
Well, you dive back into first base, you dive into second base, you slide, your hands hit the ground, and it takes its toll on you over the whole season. In fact, the pitching coach is going to come out now. It looks like Art Fowler is on his way out as you see Guante warming up in the bullpen.
He pitched yesterday very effectively against Seattle. Art Fowler, who, of course, has been Billy Martin's sidekick each stop of the way, coming out. Looks like he's just stalling for a little bit of time right now. That's one of the slowest walks to the mound you'll see in some time.
But we're talking about Canseco. He will get beat up a little bit. In fact, he was limping a little bit on his right side where he's been sliding. You know, his leg is sprained a little bit, has a few bruises and bumps on that side. So it does take its toll, and somewhere along the line it will affect his hitting.
Well, Fowler retreats a little faster than he got out there anyway, as Rich Garcia breaks up the meeting. Skinner returns behind the plate. Canseco down at first with 1 out, and Parker. Boy, this is where it gets tough. You got Canseco, Parker, and McGuire. You can hear just kind of a murmur, a little buzz every time these guys come around. It's their turn at the plate. Parker looks at a pitch, and it misses, and the count goes to 1-0.
This is one of the things that has changed in pitchers' repertoires, is that in the past when you had a runner on first base, you wanted a ground ball. And now they throw a changeup, which is easier to pull in the hole. There you see the second baseman, shortstop, Meacham giving the sign.
I didn't figure he was going to cover second.
Right. They're giving the signs to see who's going to cover in case Canseco tries to steal the bag. If you get another look at it, you'll see when he gives the sign, if you give the open mouth, that's like saying you cover. And when he gives the closed mouth, it's me, meaning I will cover.
1-1 the count. It's me, it looks like this time,
Yeah,
Joe.
I think, well, he will cover. It's natural to have the shortstop cover with a big hitter like Dave Parker up. In fact, Meacham is playing so far toward right field that he would not be able to cover anyway.
Well, it's a left-handed batter. You got to have Meacham over there. Thus far, Canseco's been caught 5 times stealing. Takes the lead. Ward holding on at first. That misses, and the count goes to 2-1. This guy has blended in so well. Tony La Russa said we'd heard about the fact that he'd had some problems in Cincinnati with Pete Rose, but he said he has really done the job, done everything we've asked him to do. 2-1. Center field. Washington over there. He'll have to take it on the first hop.
Making the turn at second, Canseco. He holds on. Runners now at first and second with one down.
I tell you, that's another good play by Claudell Washington in center field. We do not see the fact that he decoys Canseco into thinking that he can catch this ball, and then he cuts directly across. He doesn't circle it. Now he gets in front of it. Now he gets rid of the ball very quickly, and he puts all his momentum behind it, falls to the ground, and another accurate, strong throw.
I tell you, we'd had our third guy cut down at third for the A's if they'd have gone on. Canseco very wisely holding up, and now Clete Boyer comes out. Guante may be our new pitcher as he comes walking across the strike.
Well, Guante will have to be. He's the only one down there warming up now, and this is their second trip. So
we're going to have a pitching change. Dotson hanging on here. He's given up 7 hits, but he's going to leave with a 1-0 lead. ABC's Monday Night Baseball. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Stroh's and Stroh's Light. Now you're talking good times. Stroh's has spoken here. So Dotson leads, going 5 of the third innings. He did not allow a run. However, the 2 men on the base paths are his responsibility. Gave up 7 hits. He walked 1, struck out 2, had 1 wild pitch. And now Guante coming in to pitch and a little trouble with the mound.
Well, what happens is you've had 2 pitchers out there, Bob Welch and Rich Dotson, and they throw differently than Guante does. What happens is before they were working where he plants his foot, and now they're working where he sets it against the rubber. He wants to be able to push off the rubber. Bob Welch may work from a different part of the rubber so it didn't affect him, but he probably worked from the same point that Rich Dotson did, and Dotson had dug a hole there, and he was not able to push off. So he wanted that filled in, and they've done that.
We saw that yesterday for Lee Smith. Now, we want to update you on the game at Shea Stadium. It's now 2-1 in favor of the Mets. Shelby able to drive in Guerrero to get the Dodgers on the scoreboard. So, to show you what we're talking about, we're going to go back to New York, and we'll watch that scoring play.
This is Corey McFerrin in New York. Update on the Dodgers and Mets. Dodgers come back with a run in the top of number 4. John Shelby crunches his Ron Darling pitch, heading for the gap in left center field. This shot drives in Pedro Guerrero, cuts the Mets lead to 2-1. Now in the bottom of the 4th inning. Back to Gary.
All right, Corey, thank you very much. Our score here, New York 1, Oakland nothing, but the A's now with 2 men on and 1 out. Guante coming on to pitch. He pitched yesterday for the Yankees. 1 1/3 innings, a scoreless, hitless relief to pick up his 5th save. Interestingly enough, that's as many saves this year as in 24 appearances he had in the last 2 seasons. So he has gone above and beyond anything the Yankees expected from this right-hander. From the Dominican Republic, 28-year-old right-hander, and this is who he's got to face.
Well,
when he comes to a ball game, huh?
Exactly.
Mark McGwire singled and reached on a fielder's choice. 1-0 New York. The tying run at second, the go-ahead run at first, and McGwire, who has 35 RBIs at the plate.
There you saw Joel Skinner. He's reminding Cecilio Guante to stop completely so they will not call a balk. It's a good play by the catcher, Skinner.
It's inside. For those of you expecting to see that game in Shea between the Mets and Dodgers, due to limitations of time that have been brought about because of the rain delays, we're here in Oakland. We will keep you posted, though, and up to date on the progress of that game. 1-0 to McGwire. Canseco at second. Parker at first. Grounded foul.
Last week in New York, Guante did a great job in holding the sluggers from the A's at bay while the Yankees held on to win one of the ball games. And actually, he helped put the 0 for 22 that these 2 sluggers went through last week in New York. He helped to do that. So he's faced these guys and done a good job so far this season, meaning Canseco, McGwire, and Parker. He's faced them and done an excellent job.
Guante 1-1 on McGwire.
He kind of slings the ball a little bit, so he makes it a little tough on the right-hander. Watch, he steps toward third, kind of sidearms the ball a little bit. Right there.
Kind of hard to pick it up, isn't it?
Right.
2-1 on McGwire. 6'3", 205-pounder. Had an injury-plagued year last season. Pitched in only 16 games. What a difference a year makes for this guy.
2-1. Aiken for a strike, and it evens at 2. Understand the Mets now have jumped back to a 2-run lead, 3-1 now over the Dodgers and Shea. Well, the Mets have been having trouble at home, haven't they? Lost 4 of 6 in that home stand.
But they're such a good team that it won't last.
The pause by Guante. 2-2 pitch. Full count, 3-2. On deck, Ron Hassey. There he is, Ron Hassey, the veteran catcher. McGuire, 49 home runs in his rookie season. The 11 so far this year. Of course, everybody yelling balk. That's the popular thing to do this year because it's been happening so
And
often.
a lot of times they're correct. There you see the shortstop Santana comes in to talk to Guante. What he wants to remind him is also take a look at Canseco at second base because he may try to steal, but he doesn't want him to give too much of his concentration at second base because he has to throw a strike, or else the base is going to be loaded anyway.
So Santana retreats back to short. Full count on McGuire. 1 out. Runners at first and second. 1-0 New York. He struck him out.
That is a tough
big
pitch.
strikeout.
He got strike 2 with a fastball on the inside corner to McGuire, and he got strike 3 with a fastball on the outside corner. That's an excellent job of pitching. See, when you drop down sidearm and you throw a pitch inside, it keeps the guy honest. Now he goes away. You see how Mark McGuire reaches for that ball? He was really protecting the inside from the fastball inside, and he was not able to get to the ball outside.
Big number 2 out for the Yankees. Hassey now will try to deliver.
This is the kind of situation that Hassey has delivered in so far this season.
He is singled earlier and slide to center. Swing and a miss. He was going for that one.
That's a good slider from Guante. Guante has a good variety of pitches to use. He can throw sidearms to the right-hander, and which is not, of course, as effective against the left-handed hitter, but he has a good sharp breaking slider that breaks straight down almost that he used against the left-handed hitter, and that's what he did there.
This guy came over in a trade from the Pirates in '86, and that trade was Rick Roden. With Doug Trabeck, Ryan Fisher, Logan Easley. That's a big trade for both teams.
Yes, it was. I think Clete Barrier is coming out. They've decided in the meetings how they want to pitch each one of these hitters in clutch situations. And this is definitely a clutch situation for the Oakland A's. So what Clete Barrier wants to do is re-emphasize what they said in the meeting and make sure that the pitchers pitch that way.
Joe, let's update now on some final scores. That ended Minnesota's 8-game winning streak. Incaviglia with his 12th home run, which ties him for the league leadership. 4-1 Cleveland. Franco continues to hit. And look at Pittsburgh, 14-2. But Neal, what a year is he having, huh? Swing and a miss. And Hassey's behind now, 0-2. And Guante right now has really momentarily shut this A's team down. Striking out McGuire, trying to finish off the inning.
So far, he's duplicating the feat that he had last week in New York. I mean, he was excellent in relief, but he had a long relief stint last week.
He had some shoulder problems a year ago, and obviously that's behind him. Here we go, 0-2 now to Hassey with 2 down and 2 runners on. Fly ball, right center field. That ball is going to drop in. Canseco rounds third. He'll score. On his way to third is Parker, an RBI single for Ron Hassey.
As I said before, Hassey's been coming through for the A's throughout the season, just like this. And he gets a pitch up. Guante makes a mistake and gets the fastball up, and Hassey lines it in the right center field. He had been keeping the breaking ball down on Hassey, but he made a mistake, got the fastball up, and Hassey took advantage of it.
Well, for a guy that was signed as a free agent from the White Sox, Hassey has been a real find. Canseco home with the run, and here's Dave Henderson. Henderson 0 for 2. We're even at 1.
And Gary Ward calls timeout to let want to know that he is not holding Hassey at the bag and don't throw over there. Otherwise, you may throw the ball away, and the A's will get the go-ahead run home.
Well, Hassey doesn't run that well, so they will not. As now Parker leads off at third. Henderson had a notion. The pitch misses. It's 1-0. Well, Hassey with 19 RBIs now in the last 21 games.
And they've all been clutch RBIs almost, just like that. 2-out base hit.
1-0, and he took something off of that one, and it's 1-1. Parker at third, Hassey at first. 1-1 our score. Bottom of the sixth, 8 hits for the A's, 4 hits for the Yankees. All strikes, just caught the outside corner, and the count goes to 1-2. So Henderson trying to pick up Parker from third. Parker makes his move down the third baseline. Pags is backed up, of course. Not holding close to the bag. There he is. Dave's had some problems with the knee, but he had the surgery in the offseason and obviously running a little bit better this year.
Well, he was running very well until he ran into a wall in Chicago, and it actually slowed him down for a little while.
1-2 pitch. Popped up. Behind the plate, Skinner way up in the air. And Skinner puts it away, and that puts the A's away. But they come back to tie this one up as Ron Hassey ties it up with an RBI single. The veteran catcher even it up as we have played 6 innings at the Oakland Coliseum.
This is Corey McFerrin back in New York. Latest in the Dodgers and the Mets. Kevin Elster, bottom of the fourth. The chopper over Pedro Guerrero. Howard Johnson coming home to score. Elster, however, cut down by Kirk Gibson at second base. Dodgers batting top of the 5th inning. Still 3-1 Mets. Back to Oakland and Gary and Joe.
1-1 our score here. The A's picking up their first run on an RBI single by Ron Hassey. And Gaenkra had some problems with the foot, it looked like, Joe, when we were making the change at the inning. And then all of a sudden he just goes trotting out the second like there was no problem.
Well, I think it's more of a Charlie horse or a muscle spasm there. He was trying to walk it out, and eventually I guess he did because he's staying in the ball game.
Winfield to lead things off. Top of the 7th inning. His home run, the run thus far for the Yankees.
There you see what I was talking about. Right away goes inside on Dave Winfield. He had not pitched inside all day, and Winfield finally went out, got the fastball, and hit it over the ball, out of the left field wall. So now the first pitch establishes that I will come inside.
This time he comes inside again and misses. The count goes to 2-0. Gary Ward to follow. Rafael Santana to be the third man up in this inning. Well, the A's have out-hit the Yankees 8-4, but we're all even at 1. Welch 2-0 pitch to Winfield, and he got it over, and the count goes to 2-1.
But he set that pitch up so well. He went inside with 2 pitches, went back outside with another one. Those are the first 2 pitches he's thrown inside to the right-handed hitters of the Yankees, Jack Clark or Dave Winfield. Now I think he knows that, and he will not make that mistake again.
This time, fly ball, right field. Canseco going back. Under this one, and there's 1 out. Well, we talked about earlier, we had the ABC's best line of the week. That was Tim Leary's 1-hitter. But the worst line of the week, well, that dubious distinction goes to Oil Can Boyd of the Boston Red Sox.
Right, there you can see, even though he's 5-3 on the season, he pitched 1 inning, 7 hits, 6 earned runs. Gave up 3 home runs. Here we see 1. There's 2. And 3.
Oil Can came in here in this series against the A's and lasted 5 innings where he was eventually knocked out of that ball game. Was not the pitcher of record. Gary Ward now 1 for 2 with 1 down here in the top of the 7th.
And here in the 7th, we are seeing a different Bob Welch because the first pitch to Gary Ward was a fastball up and in. Because he's trying to keep these guys from leaning out over the plate. He's been very effective away, but you can only do that so long. Now he goes back away.
Ward fouls it off, and the count goes to 2 balls, 1 strike.
This is a little bit more like how he pitched in the National League. He would go inside and then back outside. But the earlier part of the ball game here, he has stayed completely away from the Yankee hitters, right-handed hitters, and even the left-handers. There he's going back inside again. Well, they call it off.
The way you're able to pick that up, obviously, the way the catcher moving behind the plate.
Right.
You can see that even from the dugout. You don't have to be behind the plate.
So you can tell he's going inside, how the catcher sets up, because he has been setting up away all day.
3-1 on Ward. Boy, it doesn't look like Welch's velocity has slowed down at all, does it? This time, line to right center field. It's going to drop in for a base hit. Coming over is Henderson. He'll come up with it, and he holds Ward to a base hit. That's the 5th hit of the game now for the Yankees. That'll bring up Santana.
The batter, shortstop, Rafael Santana.
Ward with his 2nd hit of the ball game. Santana popped up, grounded out thus far. White coming in, talking to Bob Welch. Ward down at first will be held on by McGuire. One our score. We're in the top half of the 7th inning. The Yankees with a runner with 1 down. Ward at first. 2 best teams record-wise in baseball, and what could very well be a preview of the American League Championship Series, which you'll see here on ABC. 1 ball, no strikes on Santana. Looks down to Clete Boyer, who not only is the 3rd base coach, but now the acting manager.
And we're talking about the 2 changes in the both ball clubs with the pitching staff, and 2 new guys on both staffs have been the key to today's ball game. Rick Dotson for the Yankees, although he's gone now. He pitched a very fine ball game, held the A's at bay. And Bob Welch, an off-season acquisition for the A's, is still in there holding the Yankees down.
Pitch to Santana, grounded, first base side, gets into right field. Ward had to hold up so the ball wouldn't hit him. He's at second, hangs on there, and a base hit for Santana, his first of the game. That'll bring up Joel Skinner, the catcher, batting 9th in the order.
McGuire actually gets looks like a little late start on this ball. And Gary Ward has to wait and let it go by him, or else he would have been hit by the ground ball and thus been out. So he can only go to second base on the play.
So back-to-back hits with 1 down. Skinner, who doubled in the 3rd and slide out to right, comes up.
The batter, catcher, Joel Skinner.
Joel Skinner, primarily known for his defensive ability, one of the best arms of any catcher in the league. But coming up with that hit, and as we mentioned on this swing to the west, has been able to hit a home run, and he takes a call strike. They're not holding Santana on at first. McGuire dropping back off the bag. 1 strike, 1 out. We're all even at 1. That'll drop in to the right field side. Canseco comes up throwing, and Ward would have been nailed if he'd have tried to come home on that one. On a line to the cutoff man, McGuire. You talk about 2 right fielders in this game who can get the ball home in a hurry.
And also, as we mentioned, Canseco plays a shallow right field, so he was going to have a good shot at throwing Ward out if they would have attempted it, but Clete Boyer's been around a long time. He knows when to stop it.
He has no chance whatsoever. So now, 3 consecutive base hits after the leadoff man, Winfield, was erased. And Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, is coming out to the mound. And getting heated in a hurry is a left-hander. That is Rick Honeycutt, who picked up a win in the series against the Red Sox. There he is. His first win of the year, and of course the former Dodger, as is Welch. He's up and heating up in a hurry as Welch now in a real jam with 2 on and 1 out.
Now batting, left fielder, Ricky.
So the sack's full. Down at 3rd base is Ward, who is held up. Santana down at 2nd. And there's Skinner at 1st base. 3 consecutive base hits.
And what Bob Welch needs to do here is get out in front of Ricky Henderson. He cannot afford to get behind him in the count.
Henderson 0 for 3. Grounded out, lined out. He had a shot to Gallego back in the third inning.
If he gets behind Ricky Henderson here and has to give him a 2-0 fastball, he could be in trouble. I think that's why it's imperative that he throws a strike here.
1 ball, no strikes, 1 out. Foul back, and the count evens at 1-1. When Ricky was playing here in Oakland, Joe, he really didn't hit for that much power, did he? He picked that up since he left.
Well, he actually started to hit for more power his last year here, but he was injured, so he ended up with like 16 home runs instead of being able to hit over 20. He was starting to show more power here. Billy Williams was the hitting coach, and he worked with him and told Ricky, you can hit 30 home runs if you try, or you work at it. And he did, and he started to hit more home runs before he left.
1-1 pitch, grounded to short. Weiss will go to first. He got him there, but a run scored. He looked like he didn't even take a notion at all to come home with that. It was not hit all that sharply. But Weiss electing to go to first. Ward scoring from third. And the Yankees take a 2-1 lead.
Well, the reason he could not come home on the play, he was set up for a double play. See, he's too deep to come home with the play, even though he charged the ball. And if you take any time looking elsewhere with Ricky Henderson running, you will not be able to get him at first. So Weiss made the proper decision.
1 down, 2 down, I should say, and runners now at second and third. Welch continues to throw hard, but misses. Ball 1 to Meacham. Meacham is singled, struck out, and fly to right. Also with a stolen base. Foul back. The count evens at 1-1. Santana down at third. Skinner at second. 2-1 Yankees. 8 hits for the A's. 7 for the Yankees. Bob Welch, who's gone all the way, his counterpart Dotson going 5 1/3 innings before Duarte came in relief. Massey has the notion, looks down at third, and the count goes to 2-1.
And you're correct. Bob Welch is still throwing very hard.
And last one to verify what you just said was clocked at 90 miles an hour. 2-1. Hit into short center field. A late break on the ball, but he still got there as Henderson. But the Yankees are able to take the lead for the second time, 2-1. As Henderson able to score Ward on that ground out to short. New York with a 2-1 lead. Well, we've got a couple of players in this game, Joe Morgan, that have books. This one, of course, many people familiar with, Dave Winfield's book, A Player's Life, which has caused a little bit of controversy in the New York area. But maybe most people aren't as familiar with this one.
Yeah, this is 5 O'Clock Comes Early, and this is by Bob Welch, and actually tells the story of his battle with alcohol, and it's a good book. But I think it shows the difference between the two. Yours is a hardcover from New York, and this is a soft cover from the West Coast.
Well, that may have been third or second edition. Who knows, huh? Well, we've got a pinch hitter coming up for the A's. This is Doug Jennings. Jennings has 3 pinch hits this year for Oakland to lead him in that department. Yesterday, driving in a run, his 7th RBI. So he'll lead things up here in the bottom of the 7th. His team down again by 1 run. Duarte, who came in relief of Dotson, striking out McGuire, giving up a base hit to Hasse for, at that time, the tying run. Then he got Henderson to pop up. Maggs moving in on the grass at third. Jennings does not run all that well. But he has had a very fine minor league career. Last year in Midland, Texas, hit 30 home runs and really wore out the Cactus League.
Well, he's been a pleasant surprise for the A's. He's had a couple of real crucial pinch hits for us.
1 strike, now 2, 0-2. Weiss due up next.
One of the tough things about Guante is his motion. He kind of sets himself. He gets in a position to throw the ball, but then he doesn't throw it, and he releases it late. And it's tough to pick the ball up. Yes, and that makes it tough right there. See how he drags his arm behind him a little bit, which lets him hide the ball from you a little longer. It makes it very tough to pick the ball up from him.
1-2. Jennings pinch hitting for Gallego. It might be that foot problem that Mike was having to get him out of there, and expect to see Glenn Hubbard at second.
1-2 to Jennings. He struck him out.
Guante's throwing hard also.
So White will come to the plate.
Walt White.
White thus far in this ball game, 0 for 2. There's the final. Well, I tell you, the Cubs are scoring a lot of runs, aren't they?
They're starting to play pretty well.
Foul back by White, and the count goes to 1 strike. There was the one we gave you earlier, the Twins. That broke an 8-game winning streak. Now, these A's will head to the East and the Midwest. They'll go to Minnesota next. Swindell, by the way, the winner in that ball game. He's the first 10-game winner this season of the majors. Cleveland is hanging in there. Looked like they, after an early start, was going to fade, but they've come back and played very well.
Well, they've done an excellent job. As you mentioned, Swindell pitching. They've always been able to score runs. Now they're getting some pitching.
And there's Pittsburgh, a bunch of runs. White, center field. Washington's there, and one hands it. 2 down. That'll bring up the top of the order in Lansford, who is 2 for 3 and hitting an even 400.
Now batting, third baseman Carney Lansford.
One of the things that Lansford has done in the last couple of years is he's hit with more power than he did before. And he gets in situations like this when his team is trailing by 1 run or something, and he tries to go for it a little bit more. In the past, he would always hit the same way, shoot the ball to right field, maybe a ground ball up the middle. But now, when he gets in these types of situations, he'll go for it every once in a while.
Yeah, 19 home runs last year. Ground ball to third. Alarulo comes up with it. And Ward digging it up. And it's an easy inning for Guante and the Yankees. And now Lansford's average dips to below 400. He's at 398. Washington, Clark, and Pags coming up. The Yankees by 1. As anticipated, Glenn Hubbard comes in at second base for Gallego, who is pinch hit for by Doug Jennings, as Bob Welch continues on the mound, trailing 2-1. Washington, Clark, and Paliarulo coming up for the Yankees here in the top of the 8th inning. Washington swinging through that one. He is 0 for 3 with 1 strikeout in the 6th. Activity now in the Yankee bullpen.
And that's Rag to go with Tag.
There's a swinging strike 2 for Washington. Dave Righetti. I heard he was there was some rumor of some problems with his arm.
Well, I think so, but it also probably points out how badly Billy Martin wants to win this ball game.
Washington, ground ball. McGuire can't get it. Hubbard does, and goes to first. Hubbard covers a lot of ground. He led the National League in double plays last year playing for the Atlanta Braves. He's made some sterling defensive plays this year.
He's a good defensive second baseman. That's why the A's wanted to acquire him, to work with the rookie shortstop Walt Wise. They needed some stability up the middle, and Glenn Hubbard gives them that. He's an excellent double play man.
1 down, and Clark is up. He's walked, wide out, and grounded out to the shortstop. So that is Righetti, the left-hander, heating up. There was some talk also about John Candelaria having some problems with his arm last night in Seattle.
It was not his elbow, though. It was the muscle above the elbow.
Clark, first pitch. Popped up. Right field side. McGuire, a lot of room down there, having some problems, and they can't get to it. Canseco over there, Hubbard over there, McGuire over there, and it fell between all of them.
Well, there you see McGuire. He's looking for it, but it's going back over his left shoulder, and that's going to make it tough to catch. And eventually he just loses it altogether. And Canseco cannot get there in time, and Hubbard could not as well. There you see Dave Righetti. He's warming up.
So Clark will have another opportunity. 1 strike on the man who has become the DH for the Yankees after so many years at first base in the National League. That evens it up at 1-1. Get a little bit cooler here now in the Oakland area. Started out in bright sunlight. Now the field completely bathed in shadows. He had a notion it was there, and the count goes to 1-2.
lot of people talk about making the adjustment to the DH. Parker is telling me he does a lot of stretching exercises to get ready between at-bats. He struck him out.
And that's what Bob Welch has done so well tonight. He stayed away from Jack Clark. And we're going to look at another. This looks like a changeup or some type of breaking ball. This is not the fastball. There you see that's a changeup. He grabbed it deep in his palm. It was a changeup, and Jack chased it.
Fifth strikeout for Bob Welch. Colorillo now coming up. He has struck out twice himself and grounded out. He's still popping the mitt.
And he's still staying away from tags. He just hits the outside corner with a good fastball.
1 strike, 2 out. Top of the 8th inning, 2-1 Yankees. Grounded over the mound. That'll hit into center field for a base hit. Making the big turn is Pag. Henderson comes up with it. So with 2 down, a runner is on, and that'll bring up Winfield. And Dave 1 for 3. That big home run back in the 5th inning.
Now batting, right fielder, Dave Winfield.
Not only was his 12th home run, but continues his leadership in RBIs with 45. He had 29 RBIs in the month of April. That tied a Major League record held jointly by Ron Say and Dale Murphy. And of course, he has started this year out with the book we were talking about. Got sideways with the owner, George Steinbrenner. Talk of trying to trade him. They tried to trade him for Kevin Bass of Houston. He had the right to negate the trade and did, but some talk they're still behind the scenes some movement. You believe that?
I think it would be tough to trade Dave Winfield now that Mattingly is on the injured list, and
that's a good point.
The Yankees trying to win the pennant. I don't think he can be traded now.
0-1 Dave grounds it down, and the count goes to 0-2.
He got it in front of Dave in the 5th inning when Dave hit the home run with 2 strikes away, and he never came inside. I think he will waste a pitch inside. No balls and 2 strikes.
Well, Mattingly on the 15-day disabled list with a rib cage injury. Willie Randolph not opening tonight because of a hamstring, so the whole right side of your infield now is out. And they're still winning, Joe, so they're patched it together thus far. There's an excuse me swing, protection-type swing, and it stays at 0-2.
No, but that was the pitch that I knew he was going to throw. Fastball up and in. And he came inside, and Winfield was going out to get the ball again and couldn't get out of the way.
Looks like he's going to get another bat, too.
Well, with an 0-2 count, you want to waste the pitch inside here. There it is. And that one just runs in on Dave. It started off the plate inside and continued to run in, and Dave wasn't able to get it. Just tailed right back into his bat.
I don't know if you ever got a chance, Joe, to see this guy play basketball. I did when he was at the University of Minnesota. 6'6" guard. Could play very well in the open court. Played on a very good team at the University of Minnesota out of high school in St. Paul. Drafted by Atlanta, the NBA. Drafted by the NFL. #1 draft pick of the Padres. Never played a minute in the minor leagues. Went right to the majors.
Sounds like he was a good athlete. And still is, probably. He can probably still shoot the hoop.
He's a big basketball fan. 0-2 now to Winfield. 2 out, the runner leading at first. He struck him out. That's 6 strikeouts now for Welch. So Bob Welch, still down by 1, will return to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum after a word from our local station.
And as now, he uses the high fastball for his strikeout.
So Bob Welch certainly making quite an impression in his rookie year, continuing on to play so well. The Yankees now with a pitching change. The left-hander Dave Righetti is coming on, replacing Guante, who went 1 2/3 innings, allowing no runs, 1 hit, struck out 2, didn't walk anybody. There's the numbers on the left-hander. And Righetti starts off Dave Henderson with a strike.
It surprises me a little bit. I would think, I would have thought they would have waited till the bottom of the 9th inning to bring Righetti in, but maybe he wants to get him, let him have the feel of the mound before.
I said Henderson has Javier, and it's lined to right, and there he is. Dave Winfield doing it all, throwing out runners, hitting a home run, and this time with a diving catch on Stan Javier, the switch hitter, batting right-handed. 1 up, 1 down. Guy's doing it all.
Well, he is a good player, and you said it earlier. He is a complete player. Javier does a good job and lines the ball to right field, but Winfield got a good jump on it, and he makes the catch.
Rigetti getting some help, but Rigetti has played very well. He pitched 1 2/3 innings Tuesday, giving up 2 hits but no runs. For his 5th straight save, there's Canseco fouling one straight back. He has singled, scored a run, grounded out, and called out on strike. He was looking for that one swing to tie this one up.
And this is one of those real traditional confrontations. Power pitcher against a power hitter. Everything Rigetti throws is hard. So he's a true power pitcher.
29-year-old left-hander from San Jose. Canseco, 0-1 pitch. Foul back, and he's taking his cut.
And he's challenging with 2 fastballs. And Canseco's had 2 good cuts. I think he's going to have to mix in a slider here or something.
Understand the latest on the game from Shea. The Mets leading the Dodgers 3-1, bottom of the 6th. Rigetti, of course, set a major league record for saves in '86 with 46. Inside, and the count goes to 1-2.
And that was a slider. He wanted to show him a different speed. You can't just stand there and throw the fastball to guys like Canseco, McGuire, and Parker. You have to show them a different speed. And that's what that wave pitch was.
1-2, foul back. Incaviglia hitting his 12th home run, which ties him for the American League lead with this guy, along with Herbeck. And, of course, Dave Winfield, who hit his 12th home run. Back in the 5th inning, and there's another big gun. They have some beef in this lineup, don't they? 1-2 now with 1 out on Canseco. Rigetti's delivery bounced it up there, and Skinner trying to locate it.
He looked like that was more of a changeup or something. He wanted to show him another speed, and he held on to it a little too long. We'll see here. Yeah, he's holding on to it a little too long. I think he was trying to throw him a changeup or maybe a split finger. It looked like he was grasping it a little differently than he was before.
Skinner's okay, I guess, shaking it off. 2-2 now on Canseco. Parker due up next.
Going to go with a fastball away.
And he spikes it up the middle for a base hit. So 1 on and 1 down, and that brings up Parker, who is singled, walked, and grounded out. Now with 17 stolen bases, number 3 in the American League in that department. What do you do with number 33 down at first base?
Well, I don't actually think he'll be running here, Gary, simply because he is not an accomplished base stealer yet to be able to read left-handers like Rigetti or any other left-handers in the league. That's not to say he will not go, but I don't think he will because I don't think he's an accomplished base stealer yet. And this is the bottom of the 8th inning. Tough situation to be able to steal a base in unless you're an accomplished base stealer.
Well, Russa gives him a semi-green light. Doesn't give him the total green light like a Ricky Henderson would have. This misses, and it's 1-0. That was the 9th hit of the game now for the A's. 8 for the Yankees. But the Yankees with a 2-1 lead. Ward holding Canseco on at first. Rigetti on the way to Parker, and it's 1-1, and he got all of his cut on that one.
And I tell you what, this is a tough setup for Dave Parker because he has not seen Dave Rigetti a lot in his career. And I tell you, when you haven't seen Rigetti to know how hard he really throws and how much his slider breaks, it's tough to hit against him.
1-1. That'll drop in for a base hit. Canseco makes the turn. He's headed to third. The ball gets by Henderson. Here comes Canseco. He is going to score the tying run. Go back and reconstruct this one.
The high fastball out over the plate. He tried to get the ball in on Dave, and he didn't. He got it out over the plate, and Dave slashed it into left center field. Ricky Henderson ran past it, And a good play by Claudell Washington backing up to keep Dave Parker from going to third. But he cannot keep Canseco from scoring.
Well, Canseco can run, obviously. He's the best athlete possibly on this team. And so when he saw Henderson bobble that ball, he just put it into overdrive. He's tied it up. Parker ends up at second base.
And Santana comes in to talk to Righetti. I think he's probably been signaled from the dugout to go in and talk to him because first base is open.
So it's a hit and an error, Joe. Second error of the ball game against the Yankees.
Now they've decided to walk him.
It intentionally put McGuire on with Hassey due up next. So it's all even at 2. 10th hit of the ball game for Oakland, and Parker with his second back-to-back single. So they'll put McGuire at first, and we're going to have a pinch hitter. Don Baylor's going to come on. So the veteran, Don Baylor, will pinch hit for Hassey as McGuire goes down to first. So the first intentional walk of this game as Clete Boyer and company, the brain trust to the Yankees, fighting their lead, whittled down to a 2-2 ball game, and now the go-ahead run at second. And at first, McGuire, and here comes Baylor. Baylor, 1 for 2 as a pinch hitter this year.
And I know he would like to get his second one here because, you know, he left the Yankees not under the best of circumstances, so I know he'd like to try to beat him a ball game here if he could.
He has 1 home run, 13 RBIs. Now they're going to change the baseball. So Righetti coming in relief started things out with Javier hitting one to right, and a great play by Winfield for the first out. Canseco then singling, Parker singling, and the walk, and now Dennis Eckersley's up. He leads the majors in saves with 16. They're pulling out their artillery today.
Well, this is a big game for both teams because it's important for one or the other to try to establish that I'm the best team in baseball, not the other team.
Remember now, the Yankees won 2 of 3 in Yankee Stadium after the A's won the opener. Pitch to Baylor, swung on ground and foul, and the count goes to 1-1. And of course, Welch won that ball game. Eckersley has made 2 appearances over the weekend. He's had 16 saves in 17 appearances, and there he is, up and throwing. Parker down at second. McGuire at first. Baylor hit one deep to right center field. Hustling back there is Washington before the warning track. Hauls it in. The runners go back and have to hold.
Righetti has been throwing awfully hard, but Don Baylor's a good fastball hitter, so he comes with 2 breaking balls. And we get another look at the slider here. There, see his breaking balls away, and Baylor goes the other way with it. But Washington got an excellent jump on the ball, gets himself under control, makes a good play. Now he stops and holds Dave Parker to second base. He's played a good center field tonight.
Well, he's had 6 putouts in center field, and of course threw out Lansford on that play at third. There's Claudell. And that brings up Henderson. 2 down, 2 on. Boy, he was late on that one. Righetti just threw that one by him. Henderson 0 for 3 in the ball game.
You'll get to see how 2 types of hitters swing the bat. Dave Henderson kind of sweeps the bat a little more, so Dave Righetti probably feels he cannot catch up with his fastball. Don Baylor snaps the bat, and he can catch up with the fastball. I think we'll see more fastball to Dave Henderson, whereas we saw the sliders to Don Baylor.
Righetti checks the runners, not being held on at first. He's high with a pitch, and the count evens at 1-1.
And that's a smart pitcher there. Henderson chased the first high fastball. Let's give him another chance to chase it. Henderson didn't bite.
One pitch from Righetti. It's there for a strike. Henderson had a notion, did not go, and the count goes to 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2-2 our score. 10 hits for the A's, 8 for the Yankees. However, the Yankees have committed 2 errors in this ball game.
And the one by Henderson allowed Canseco to come home with a tying run. Outside, and it's 2-2. Glenn Hubbard is on deck. Of course, he replaced Gallego in the previous inning when Mike was having some problems with his foot. Two and two to Henderson. And it's full, and everybody's going to be moving now. 2 out, 3-2 on Henderson.
And we're back in the same situation that Bob Welch was in on a 3-2 count to Pags earlier in the ballgame. You have to go at your best pitch. I think you'll see Dave Righetti fire the fastball and hope to be able to throw it by Dave Henderson.
Big pitch in this ballgame.
There's the fastball.
Fouls it back, so we'll do it again. This capacity crowd, third consecutive day they've had a sellout here. They're about 137,000 ahead of last year attendance-wise. They're talking over 2 million here in the Coliseum before the season's over.
Dave Righetti has one of the best fastballs in the major league, and he's going to get him out with another fastball. He's going to try to anyway.
3-2, runners going, and it's popped up behind the plate. Skinner coming over, Ward coming over. It's near the Yankee dugout, and Ward puts it away. But we're even at 2, as we have now played through 8 innings. We'll return to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum after this message and a word from our local station. The Oakland Coliseum, top half of the 9th inning. We're even at 2. 10 hits for the A's, 8 for the Yankees. Bob Welch stays on as Gary Ward, first ball hitting, grounds it into center field for a base hit. 9th hit of the game now for the Yankees. So the leadoff man is on in the top of the 9th. Santana will come up. He is 1 for 3, a base hit back in the 7th inning. That's Mercado now has come in as the catcher. As you might recall, they pinch hit for Hassey. Don Baylor coming in for Hassey. So Orlando Mercado, who was called up after the injury to Steinbach, is now behind the plate. Santana now visiting with Clete Boyer.
And knowing Clete Boyer as I do, I think he will bunt in this situation. I think Billy Martin might not have bunted if he was still managing. But I think, knowing Clete Boyer over the years as I do, I think he will try to bunt and get a run here in the 9th inning.
Skinner is due up next. By the way, that game at Shea Stadium in the 6th inning now. Brian Holton is coming to relief for Los Angeles. The bases are loaded and 2 out. In that game, of course, the Mets with a 3-1 lead. And we will continue to keep you posted on that. So the bases loaded, 2 out in Shea. Holton pitching now for the Dodgers, with the Mets leading at 3-1. Steve Lansford creeping in at third. 1 ball, no strike, Santana, and that'll go foul. 1 ball, 1 strike on Raphael. Looks down at third to Boyer. That's Mike Ferraro, the first base coach, with Gary Ward and McGuire holding him on. Interesting ball game. Not a lot of runs for all those base hits.
Right. There you see Clete Boyer giving Santana the signs, and as I mentioned, I'm sure he'll have him bunting because that's the way Clete Boyer likes to play baseball, fundamental baseball. He's like that.
Mercado looks into the dugout to La Russa. They say one thing about Mercado, he really takes instructions well. So he looked in to see what the A's have planned. Lansford creeping in. The bunt goes foul. 1-2.
Now we'll see if Clete Boyer switches to some type of hit and run or if he takes the bunt off. Sometimes you go ahead and say bunt the ball anyway because the defense will back up a little bit as we see Lansford's moving back at third. He's not quite as close as he was before, and you don't have to make as good a bunt. You just have to put the ball in play.
Well, last night, Santana had a sacrifice bunt. It was the first sacrifice bunt they'd had in 19 games. He's going to try it with 2 strikes.
Right.
And he takes it. It's inside, and it's 2-2. So Santana looks down at third. You got to wonder now if you're Lansford down at third, huh?
Right, but I see Clete Boyer's not doing anything, and usually you have to take the bunt off. So I would say he will be bunting again. So the bunt's usually on until you take it off. Yes, he's bunting again.
He bunts it out in front. Going to second is Welch, and they got the lead man, and they got a double play. You don't see that happen very often.
And it's plays like this that gets you back in the doghouse again, too. He tries to make a good bunt, but he gets the ball down. Welch makes a good throw, good accurate throw to second base. There you see Weiss comes across, turns it, double play.
1-6-3. Welch did not hesitate for a moment. So Santana, a golden opportunity, slips through his hands and collectively to the Yankees. So there's 2 down here now in the top of the 9th. And there is Skinner singling to right field, and Skinner coming up with his second hit. We understand the Dodgers behind Holton, able to get out of the inning with the bases loaded. So it's still 3-1 New York in that game after 6.
And there you see what drives managers crazy. If he would have been able to get the bunt over, Santana would have been able to get the bunt down. Skinner singles to right. They could have a lead now. Instead, they have 2 outs and a runner at first base.
So Ricky Henderson will come up, the top of the order. Ricky 0 for 4. He's grounded out 3 times to short.
Managers can put the signs down, make everything happen, but the players have to execute.
2 out, the top of the 9th. Welch trying to finish this one off and then hope he can get some runs from his teammates in the bottom of the 9th inning. You can't call those a little thing for the game, can you?
That's the big thing here in the 9th inning. In a close ball game, the ones that make the fewest mistakes are the ones that win close ball games.
There's Henderson with a base hit. In the corner, coming up is Javier, going all the way to third is Skinner, and he runs very well for a catcher. And down to second on the throw goes Ricky Henderson. So all of a sudden, with 2 out after that double play on the bunt, the Yankees are still battling back.
Henderson lines the ball in the left field. The throw should go to second base. First of all, the guy going to third is not a threat. Javier should have come up and thrown to second base to hold Ricky Henderson to a single. But he tries to throw to third. He has no chance to get the runner there. Skinner slides in safely, and on the throw, Henderson goes down to second base. Now there are 2 runners in scoring position.
I think you got to remember, Javier does not have a strong arm. He runs well, but he doesn't have the great arm, and I think it was evidence there. Even though, as you mentioned, he made the wrong choice. That ball didn't get there with any velocity. So now, Rick Honeycutt and Eric Plunk are in the bullpen now, throwing for Oakland. Honeycutt, the left-hander, Plunk, the right-hander, as Bob Welch looked like he was going to close this one out with 2 out. And all of a sudden, a single by Skinner. Henderson singles, goes to second on the throw. 2 on and 2 out, and here comes Bobby Meacham, who has 1 base hit in the ball game.
And again, the Yankees have 3 base hits in 1 inning without scoring a run so far.
Marusa now motioning to move Canseco a little over in right. Skinner impressed me with the way he got to third base on that play. He runs well. You didn't expect the catcher to get over that quickly. He is over there at third. Meacham, 1 ball, no strike. Welch, little half swing. McGuire will go unassisted to first, and they get out of it. So that poor bunt by Santana comes back to really hurt the Yankees. Let's look at it again.
Well, Santana has 2 strikes, so he has to make sure he gets the ball on the ground. He does so, but it goes directly back to Bob Welch. He throws to Walt Weiss, and he doubles him up at first base.
Well, the Yankees had 9 hits in the top of the inning. Still did not score. They have 11 for the game. It's all even at 2 as Righetti now will try to send this one into extra innings, as the A's will have Hubbard and Weiss leading things off. Then the top of the order, Lansford. Dave Righetti coming in relief. Got out of a jam in the last inning. Boy, you look back on that. Santana, the double play, and then what follows after that? Skinner singles, Henderson singles, and as you said, that drives managers crazy.
And it happens that way a lot of times. A guy cannot execute, and the next two guys come up and do their job.
So Hubbard, who came on for Gallego at second base, will lead things off. Welch with 136 pitches through 9 innings. 11 hits, walked 1, struck out 6. You wonder, can they continue with Welch if we go 10?
Well, I think that's a decision that they're contemplating right now, whether to go a little longer or not. I personally think that he's probably close to the limit of pitches that they're going to let him throw.
Strike call.
There you see the face guard that Hubbard wears. He was hit in the face in spring training by a pitched ball.
Jeff Hirsch of the Cubs fractured that cheekbone, grounded to third. Pags will come up with it. And the leadoff man erased here in the bottom of the 9th inning. That'll bring up White.
Now batting, shortstop, Walt White.
Walter White from Rockland County in New York. They have the Walter White watch. It's not easy to say. They will follow him each day in the paper, see how he's doing. Of course, Walter played at University of North Carolina. One of his teammates is B.J. Surhoff, the catcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. He takes the strike.
And there's a little note every day in the paper saying what Walt Weiss did.
The Journal News in Rockland County, New York. Ligeti throwing hard. He's ahead now, 0-2.
I even noticed one paper said Walt Weiss didn't play today, sore ankle.
Well, he was out 7 games with a bad left ankle. Used to wear a plastic support on that ankle for a while, and he strikes out.
I think the question also is how long will the Yankees go with Righetti? Because he is their stopper. And you can see why here. He starts, Weiss off, gets him 2 strikes, and throws a good slider over the outside corner and strikes Weiss out. Good slider right on the outside corner.
So Lansford now, 2 hits in this game, 2 for 4, hitting .398. He'd like to get over that 400 mark again. Pitch goes outside. Ligeti again, and it's foul down the right field line, and the count evens with 1-1. Should they continue, Javier would be up next for the A's.
I think you'll see Dave Righetti stay away from Carney Lansford. I don't think he'll risk getting a pitch on the inside corner that Carney can jerk out of the ballpark.
1-1 pitch to Carney, and it misses, and the count goes to 2-1. Javier, the switch hitter, batting now from the right-hand side if he gets up. Look at that, career-wise against Righetti.
Dave Righetti may be the only guy that he's hitting 200 against or less.
3-1.
And here again, I think this pitch will be outside. If Carney wants to swing at it, Dave says go ahead. But I don't think he will risk getting a pitch on the inside part of the plate.
3-1 to Carney, and there is a line shot center field base hit. And he goes to 401 for the season with his 3rd hit of the game. So, with 2 out now, Javier comes up. Rene Latchman down at first base. Javier in this game twice has flied to center, struck out, and flied to right.
The batter, left fielder.
Lansford now has 27 multi-hit games, leading all the majors with 3 hits here today.
And he also stole 27 bases last season. He's stolen 8 this year. This is a situation where, see, Carney may try to steal in this situation because there's 2 outs already. Whereas Canseco had Parker and McGuire coming up behind him. He may try to steal a
Canseco
base
coming
here.
up after this if they get through Javier, and that's what the A's got to be thinking right now.
But I think they would give Lansford a shot at trying to steal a base here. I really do. If he can get a good jump on Righetti, I think he'll take it.
1-0 on Javier. Bottom of the 9th, inside, and he's behind 2-0.
Now they may put the do not run sign on for 1 pitch to see if Righetti will take the count to 3-0. Very rarely will you steal 2-0 with 2 outs in this situation.
Runner not going, and he threw that one by him. He just fired that one by him. 2-1.
In my opinion, there's probably only 2 or 3 guys in the A's lineup that can catch up with Righetti's real good fastball. And that's Lansford, Canseco, Parker, and McGuire. Some of the other guys, I'm not sure they can catch up with his fastball.
That was registered at 90 miles an hour. That last one grounded. Shortstop, Santana boots it, and they're all going to be safe. This has not been Rafael Santana's night. You know, he made an error in that first loss of the year for the Yankees. Got in the dugout, I should say the doghouse, and he may be back in there again.
This is a ground ball in the hole. He doesn't get down on the ball. He has a play at second base, so you could take some chances round the ball to make sure you make the catch. You don't have to throw to first base. He was going to have a play at second base, and he just did not stay down on the ball.
And this is not what Righetti wanted. There's to get Canseco up here in the bottom of the ninth.
And with no place to put him, I think that's the tough part.
2 out, 2 on. Bottom of the ninth. There's the guy that counts. He would be the winning run. Canseco, first ball hitting, hits it a mile high into the air. Ward circling around. And we're going to go to extra innings. First ball hitting, Canseco. So Righetti gets out of the jam. We have played 9 innings. 2-2 our score. So we have played 9 innings, and it's all even 2-2 as the two clubs who everybody figures, most people figure, may be playing in the American League Championship Series come October, have battled to a standstill. The teams with the best records in baseball, even in runs, even in hits, and a new pitcher now for the A's, and left-hander Rick Honeycutt. Welch goes 9 innings. He allows 11 hits, walked 1, struck out 6. He had that one balk, you might recall. Skinner then followed with a double shortly thereafter. As Welch gives up the 2 runs, he will leave and, of course, will not be the pitcher of record. Honeycutt this weekend had picked up his first win of the season. He, along with Welch, a former Los Angeles Dodger. He was a guy with the Dodgers who really struggled terribly. He was 2-12 last year, then came over and pitched 7 games for the A's and had a 1-4 record, finishing the year combined at 3-16. But you know, he's had some success. In '83, with the Rangers and Dodgers splitting the season, he won 14 games. It was in the All-Star game that year. He's been a good setup man for Eckersley, but now coming in here in the 10th inning.
Well, he specializes in the sinker. He has a good sinker, and when he keeps the ball down, he's very effective, but when he gets the ball up, he's in trouble.
Cardell Washington will lead things off. He struck out once, going 0 for 4 in this ball game. He'll be followed by Clark and Pagliarulo. And Honeycutt starts him out with a strike on the outside corner. Dave Winfield with a home run in this ball game. Henderson with another RBI on a ground out. The Pine run scoring when the ball got by Henderson, allowing Canseco to come home on a base hit by Dave Parker. There he is, Jack Clark.
And Jack Clark is especially dangerous in this type of situation, late innings, because as I mentioned, he never cuts down on his swing.
0-2 now on Washington. Honeycutt in relief of Welch, and it's now 1-2. The lights on. This game starting at 5 o'clock Pacific Coast time. Now 8:19, and we haven't decided anything right now.
Well, we've decided that these are 2 of the best teams in the American League. We've decided that.
I'll stand corrected.
Right.
You're right. 1-2 pitch, had a notion, and he got him. So the strikeout for Honeycutt. That'll bring up Clark, who struck out back in the 8th. He's walked, grounded out, and flied out.
One of the tough things for Claudel Washington is he does not face a lot of left-handed pitchers. And he chases the slider from Honeycutt with 2 strikes. And you can't do that. You'll have to be a little more patient, but he doesn't play against left-handers.
Washington sits down, and Clark stands in. A little bit low from Honeycutt. Clark and Winfield.
And I knew Clark would be in there. As I mentioned, he never shuts down on his swing. And is especially dangerous in these types of situations.
35 home runs a year ago in an abbreviated season with the Cardinals. There's the strike. Honeycutt throwing about as hard as Welch, just from the left-hand side.
And he's got a little more sink on his ball. He's throwing a little sinker, whereas Welch's fastball kind of rides a little bit, stays up. Honeycutt's fastball sinks.
A's have Eric Plunk, a right-hander, warming up just in case. And Steve Shields heating up for the Yankees. That makes it now 2-1.
And like Welch, he's trying to stay away from Jack Clark. Trying to keep the fastball sinking away.
Two-one pitch. Oh, strike two. 2-2. Clark started the year with number 21, then shifted to 33. Steve Shields had that number, and he inherited number 40. This guy can wear any number he wants, right?
Any number he wants.
Whatever he wants to do.
But I tell you, he didn't like that last call because it also puts him in the hole. 2 strikes again. Now he has to go after anything close. So if Honeycutt can make a good pitch, keep it down, he'll get Clark to chase it.
2-2. It's full now at 3-2.
That's good discipline there from Jack.
So Clark now is run it full with 1 out. Lansford guarding the line down that third base side.
Late in the ball game, of course, in a tie score, you cannot let a ground ball go between you and the bag for extra bases.
This guy has had some success against Honeycutt, wouldn't you think?
Yes. And I think Honeycutt also knows that.
3-2 pitch to Clark. Nice stab by Honeycutt. Well, it helps when you can field your position.
One of the things that Honeycutt does well is his follow-through gets him into good fielding position. As we see here, he throws a fastball on the outside corner. Clark grounds it back, and there he had his shoulder square to the plate. He was ready to go either way, and he makes a good play.
2 away, and that brings up Pagliarulo. Honeycutt got it over for a strike. Boy, this bullpen of the A's has been something. They have 24 saves, 7-3 record. A lot of that going to Eckersley, but this guy has not been a slouch either. And Honeycutt grounded first base side. McGuire puts the mitt down, and we're going to the bottom of the 10th. So Rick Honeycutt comes in and shuts them down in order, keeping them even until his mates, he hopes, can get him ahead in the bottom of the 10th. Bottom half of the 10th inning, a 1-ball, no strike count on Dave Parker, leading things off. 2-2 our score. Parker grounds it foul down the first base side. If you're wondering how these two teams have done thus far in extra innings, the A's are 3-1, all of those on the road. They've not had an extra inning game prior to tonight at home. They're in the top of the ninth. The Mets still leading 3-1 over the Dodgers. The Yankees, on the other hand, are 3-2, 0-2 at home in extra inning games, 3-0 on the road. Almost hit him and did. So Parker on.
No, he says no. Garcia says the ball didn't hit him. Rich Garcia says the ball did not hit Dave Parker.
Garcia's had one of those nights, hasn't he? Had to go to the Yankee dugout earlier. Martin kicked out of the game. He's smiling about it, so...
Yeah. I tell you what, I'm surprised that the ball didn't hit him because it started almost behind Dave Parker, and I didn't think he was going to be able to get out of the way, but Garcia says he got out of the way. Watch where this ball starts. That ball is almost behind Dave Parker. Look at that. But it looks like Garcia was correct.
I think the replay certainly vindicated the home plate umpire. Parker trying to get on somehow.
And that's a veteran move there.
Yes, it is. 2-1 on the big DH. Now 3-1. Let's look at it once again. But I think it's quite apparent it did not hit Parker.
But I think Parker was surprised it didn't hit him because it starts so far inside. And when Righetti throws it, you don't have much time to get out of the way.
3-1, and Parker hits it deep to center. Washington going back in front of the warning track, and that's a long out. That ball was pretty well hit, but the deepest part of this ballpark, 400 feet straight away.
And you also mentioned earlier in the ball game, the ball does not carry well here at night.
Using all of it, Wade Boggs hit one on Sunday straightaway center field, and it was obvious that the ball didn't carry well then. It would have gone out in a lot of ballparks. McGuire up, single, struck out, walked, reached on a fielder's choice, and he fouls that one straight back.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Dave Righetti fears no one with his fastball. He goes right after these big guys, Canseco and now McGuire and Parker. He says, if you can hit my fastball, hit it. He's coming right after him.
McGuire on a 0-1 pitch, high. Now go back to that drive to center by Parker. The bench thought maybe that ball was headed for something bigger and better, but it was just a long out. Parker's saying that would have gone out in Cincinnati last year.
It probably would have.
1-2, McGuire. Boy, Righetti is right in the teeth of this team right now, isn't he?
But
he's got Parker, and now he's facing McGuire in the head, 1-2.
He's doing a good job of wading through him. I think this will be Righetti's last inning if he can get out of this.
Take something off of that. The breaking pitch evens at 2-2. Mercado is due next. Orlando Mercado to replace Passy behind the plate. One out, nobody on. Bottom of the 10th. 2-2. High pop-up, first base side. Ward drifting into foul territory, backpedaling. Whoa, that was a close one. Almost did not get to it. There's 2 down. Yesterday, with the wind blowing, that was an adventure.
Well, he made it an adventure there. I think he misjudged the ball, actually, because he was... Anytime you have to backpedal like this, that means you misjudged the ball. You should have been going backwards sideways instead of backpedaling.
John Shelby has hit a home run for the Dodgers at Shea. They've cut the Mets lead 3-2 in the ninth. Mercado, he hit that home run just right after being called up in his first start for the A's. And he looks at a strike. Well, looking to the Yankees, 11th. Guess who leads off? Dave Winfield. Outside, and the count goes to 1-1. It'll be Winfield, Ward, and Santana. And there's the guy who's hit the home run, made a brilliant throw and catch in right field. That ball hit pretty well left center field, but Washington over there, and we're going to go to the 11th inning. Still 2-2 as Claudel Washington been very busy, but this guy, Righetti, going right into the meat of the order, continues to keep the A's from scoring. There it is, 2-2 after 10, 11 hits. The Yankees committing 3 errors in this ball game, as now the A's come in with Eric Plunk, a former Yankee, a right-hander. He came over to Oakland in that Ricky Henderson trade back in '84 when Jay Howe, Jose Rijo, and Stan Javier joined Plunk. And Plunk, hard-throwing right-hander. They have a lot of hope for this guy. He has had some very good moments. 24-year-old from Bellflower, California. Always had some control problems, but he has a mid-90s fastball, and he replaces Honeycutt, who went 1 inning, 1-2-3 fashion, striking out 1 guy.
I think one of the things that, as you said, has plagued Plunk has been his control, because he does have a great arm. And anytime you have a live arm and you can get the ball over the plate, you're going to be effective. Dave Righetti demonstrates that very well.
We mentioned a while ago the Mets' lead has been cut 3-2, and they come in with their flame-throwing left-hander Randy Myers to try to shut it down, hang on to that lead in Shea. There's 2 out in the top of the 9th, and nobody on. Myers has been brilliant for Davey Johnson and the Mets. So here we go. Top of the 11th, Winfield, Ward, and Santana to face Eric Plunk. It all started with Welch. Welch went 9 innings,
Honeycutt one, and now Plunk. Rigetti coming in relief of Dotson and Duante. And this guy with the home run. Seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? Back in the 5th inning. Gave the Yankees that 1-0 lead. And he fires and catches the outside corner for a strike. Plunk with those glasses scares you a little bit. You wonder if he sees well, right, when you're throwing that hard?
Well, it looks like Ryan Duran, and he's also throwing a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Ryan Duran, what did he do? Throw it to the net a couple of times. The backstop to let you know he couldn't see. There's a fly ball, right field. Canseco's there, and that's a big out. The leadoff man, Winfield, here in the top of the 11th inning.
And Plunk just jammed Dave Winfield with that 94-mile-an-hour fastball. From the first pitch fastball away, and then came inside with the next one.
One down, and Ward will come up. Ward in this ball game been very busy. Base hit back in the 9th inning. Also picked up one in the 7th as well as the 3rd. 3 hits. Grounded out the other time. The Mets win it 3-2. Myers comes in, slams the door. So the Mets beat the Dodgers. Game that was held up momentarily by rain, and Ron Darling picks up the victory for New York. The other New York right now in a battle here in the 11th. That's inside the Ward, and the count now goes 2-0. Gary Ward's seen a lot of playing time due to the injury to Don Mattingly. Tim Leary, the losing pitcher, by the way, in that Dodger-Met game. Grounded, third base, Lansford. Loses his hat, but comes up throwing. Santana due up next.
You know, Lansford makes all the plays at third base, but he doesn't do it with a lot of flair, and maybe that's why he has not won a Gold Glove. He makes all the routine plays and a lot of great plays, but he just does it the way he hits. He's just a steady performer. Sometimes that does not catch the attention of some of the voters.
Well, the highest fielding percentage 2 of the last 3 years. Committed only 7 errors last year, lowest among third basemen, and Gaetti gets the Gold Glove. I would think. He's never been in an all-star game, but if he doesn't get into this one, they better check the ballot. They better check somebody, because he's got to be in the one in Cincinnati. There, look how he plays so low to the ground. Inside, and the count goes 1-1. Lansford really has gone through some tough times in his life. Right. Losing a 2-year-old son when he first was traded out here. There's the strike call.
They better check that radar gun.
Oh.
That looks a little harder than 94
Either that or
miles an hour.
the light is getting faint here. It's one or the other.
There you
Skinner is saying, the on-deck guy, I don't know if I want to get up there.
Right, I think he's looking to see if they're going to pinch hit for it.
1-2, and Santana just got a piece of that one.
And that's what you call a real defensive swing.
Well, Raphael will stand back in. Looking to the A's in the bottom of the 11th, Henderson at lead off, followed by Hubbard and White. 1-2, and it hit him.
And I tell you what, that will hurt for a while.
Well, obviously, when you're 1-2, 2 out, that's the last thing you want to do is put a guy on and hit him. Santana looks like he might have a tough time continuing.
Well, I guess if you stop a 93-mile-an-hour fastball with your arm, you may not want to continue.
It'll bring Skinner up. Let's see if we can pick up where it hit him.
It just really tails in, hits him right under the elbow. I mean, it really tails in. And there was no way for him to get out of the way.
Try to freeze it, get some of that pain out of there.
Well, he may want to go ahead and run, but there's no way he will be able to play the field because you can't throw after you take a fastball in that spot.
Well, you know, they're pretty thin now in that infield with Randolph out. I guess he's available if they have to have him.
Well, one point here, we saw that in slow motion, and it looked fast. Let's take a look at it in regular speed. I think you'll see. That is tough.
You know what they can do, Joe? They can bring Claudell Washington into play second if they have to, and move Meacham to short. Unless they want to bring Randolph in. They were telling us before the game he might be available in an emergency situation.
Well, I would think they would not want to bring Randolph in for two reasons. First of all, it's gotten pretty chilled out here. And if you have a pulled muscle, that's the last time you want to go in a ball game cold when it is cold outside. So I would think that they would do what you said is first. They would bring Claudell Washington in maybe to play second base and move Meacham over to shortstop. But I don't think they've made that decision yet, although there's Randolph. It looks like he's taking his jacket off. But I would
Claudell
definitely
Washington can play there, though. They have talked about that.
Right, but I would definitely think you would not want Randolph to go in and pinch run if he has a bad leg. You might want to use another player, but then again, with it being an extra inning ball game, you may not make it.
Well, let's take this opportunity to remind you Monday Night Baseball on ABC continues. Next week, Houston against Los Angeles, the Astros against the Dodgers, or the American League East battle, these same Yankees going against the Boston Red Sox in Yankee Stadium. Action beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern. That's Monday night right here on ABC. Joe, it's been fun getting started back into this again.
Yes, it has been. And we've had a good ball game.
Not over yet.
No, but I think a lot of people are booing here, but they don't understand that the Yankees were trying to wait as long as they could to see if Santana could run for himself, but Willie Randolph is going in to run.
Well, that's interesting. When you have a hamstring, I think your points are well taken, Joe. You bring him in, maybe bring him in to play defensively,
right,
but not as a pinch runner. But they're looking maybe to a longer game here, and they want to save anybody in that role later. By the way, that was Plunk's first hit batter of the year, despite all those control problems he's been known for.
Well, the toughest thing to do with a hamstring is to run for a long distance because it gets tired. You can play second base because it's short, quick steps, and you're only going to move short distances. But to have to run and stretch it out, and especially being the go-ahead run, could be tough.
Skinner's been very, very effective tonight, 3 for 4, and on the first pitch, he pops it up. Mercado coming back to the backstop, and we go to the bottom of the 11th. So the Yankees have to make some changes. Randolph expected to come in at second base. Plunk, the third pitcher for the A's, and he slams the door. Well, the Yankees will now come up with right-hander Steve Shields here in the bottom of the 11th inning to face Dave Henderson. Righetti went 3 innings, giving up 1 run, 3 hits, walked a man, that was intentionally, and struck out 1. Shields, 0-1, ERA of 7.15. This will be his 8th appearance. He's pitched 11 1/3 innings. Shields, a 29-year-old right-hander, who last year was with Seattle, as well as Calgary in the minor league. There's Seattle, by the way, beating Baltimore 4-1. The Orioles in 88. I don't remember 1904, Joe, very well, or 32 all that well either.
No, that was a little before my time also.
Look at that, the Padres. Of course, now the Padres have changed managers. Larry Boa, who started off so slowly last year with San Diego, and this year as well. Henderson at the plate. So Shields facing Henderson. 1 strike. Coming up next will be Hubbard, followed by White. Speaking of that San Diego situation, Shields on the 0-1 pitch. Henderson swings through it. Jim Lefebvre, the third base coach for Oakland, considered by many to be a prime candidate to be the new Padres skipper. Jack McKeon possibly will finish the year in San Diego after replacing Larry Boa. 0-2, all strike 3. So Shields on 3 pitches gets him out of there. You don't have a plane to catch, do you?
No. That's a good piece of pitching by Steve Shields. He threw him a couple of breaking balls away and then threw the fastball on the outside corner.
Here is Hubbard, who's come up. He's 0 for 1. And now Randolph, of course, as we mentioned, was come in and play second base, replacing the injured Santana as Meacham switches over to the shortstop. Hubbard grounded out. He came in for Gallego after Gallego was pinch hit for by Doug Jennings. You remember that far back. And he slaps one to right at Dave Winfield. 2 out. And that'll bring up Walt White.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Jim Murphy.
Well, the A's in their first extra inning game at home this year. And right now, looking an awful lot like it may go to the 12th. White coming up. These are the kind of games where your average really starts to dip if you don't start getting some base hits.
Well, this is not a real bad job because most teams have 11 base hits, but when you get in those close ball game, nothing to nothing, about 14, 15 innings, and there's only 8 hits between both teams, that's when some batting averages can suffer.
Walt White with 1 base hit on the night, now 0 for 1. Looking to the Yankees, they'll have the top of the order as we go to the next inning, if we do, with Henderson, Meacham, Washington. 0-2. Boy, Shields is just a no-nonsense guy right now.
And throwing nothing but strikes.
Right-hander, and White fights it off and fouls it back. So we mentioned White as being the rookie. We mentioned Concepcion in '70 as a rookie for the Reds, was able to win the division. Also, Chris Fire pulled it off when he was a rookie with San Francisco, and then Frank Taveras for Pittsburgh. There's the attendance. 44-218. Grounded, second base. Randolph with his first effort of the night. And we continue on. We're going to the 12th inning. It's all tied up, 2-2. Steve Shields went through this inning in a hurry. Oakland Coliseum, 2 teams with the best records in baseball have battled to a standstill. Eric Plunk trying to close out the top of the 12th. Plunk has his teammate Cataray warming up in the bullpen if needed, but Plunk in the last inning very effective. The hits are even, the runs are even. There's Cataray, left-hander, who has pitched very effectively this year for the Oakland A's, as Ricky Henderson will lead things off. Henderson with a base hit and an RBI. His RBI coming on a ground out back in the 7th and singled in the 9th. He started the day at .333. So Eric Plunk, hard-throwing right-hander, starts Henderson off with a blazer down the middle. 1 strike. Ricky Henderson coming home. His mother, Bobby, who is so instrumental in his life here at the game, said she, along with Tom Trebelhorn, who's now the skipper of the Brewers, really influenced his life at an early stage. There's the pitch, and it's 1-1. Trebelhorn, he felt, really got his head together. Really gave him the basics, how to play this game. And, of course, Ricky now very happy to be playing for Billy Martin once again. His stats really pick up when he plays for Billy Martin. There's the pitch going out of 2-1. 2 balls a strike on Henderson. Meacham up next. Washington to follow. We're in the 12th inning.
He's still throwing awfully hard, but Ricky Henderson is the perfect guy in this situation to lead off this inning.
Any inning for that matter, Joe.
Yeah, good point.
Swing and a miss, 2-2.
I think Ricky's a little anxious here to prove something to the A's fans because he chased that pitch that was out of the strike zone.
Well, Ricky leading the American League in stolen bases for 7 straight years. Lost that distinction. Harold Reynolds of Seattle captured it when Ricky only had 41 stolen bases last year. That hamstring problem. He'd like to regain it, and right now he is way ahead of everybody. Reynolds, by the way, has only 8. He was benched at one time, the second baseman for the Mariners. Foul ball keeps it at 2-2. Ricky's talking about sometime in the future going over 1,000 stolen bases in his career. Lou Brock with a record of 938.
I don't think there's any doubt that he will steal over 1,000 bases in his career if he remains healthy.
When Brock had that great year, 118, which was the record at that time, he was 36 years old. So Ricky's got a lot of baseball ahead of him. I don't think anybody knows, Joe, what physical drain that was on Henderson, though, the year he swiped 130. Grounded. That could be tough. White's going to have to hurry. He got it. That's one of those where the rookie has to feel the pressure of Henderson moving down that first base line.
Well, it's always a tough play when you have to come in and short hop the ball from shortstop because you have to catch it cleanly. But when you have a Ricky Henderson flying down the line, it makes it that much tougher. But he's made all the plays. I think he's convinced most people that he is ready to play in the major league as a shortstop.
See that little sigh of relief as he goes back to short. Meacham up now. He has a base hit. This is the second. Hubbard to McGuire. Very quickly, 2 away. Washington. Claudell Washington, who's played brilliantly in the field, really had a long night at the plate. 0 for 5. So Claudell with 2 down now in the top of the 12th inning.
You're getting into the part of the Yankee order that any one of these guys with one swing of the bat can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Don Mattingly would be in the 3rd spot on the batting order if he was not on the DL, and I'm sure that Plunk would rather be facing Claudell Washington in this situation. Should it continue, Clark is up next. And that's what Plunk doesn't want to have to happen, to get to Clark. 1-1. Plunk's a fast worker. He just reloads. He's ready to go again. There's Jack. Clark in this ball game has walked once, struck out, grounded out twice, and skied to right. 1-2.
So far, Plunk has kept the ball down pretty well, but that's a high fastball, and the 94-mile-an-hour fastball, when it's up in the strike zone, is almost impossible to hit. Nolan Ryan used that so successfully for so many years.
Very close. 2-2. You got to be impressed with the A's, not only as a team that can hit the long ball and score a lot of runs, but we again tonight showing the depth they have in this pitching staff. Excellent performance by Honeycutt. Plunk just missed again, and it's full now, 3-2. Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Top of the 12th. That's a little nubber hit over into the center field area for a base hit, and that's the 12th hit of the game for the Yankees. So let's go to New York now to Corey McFerrin for this report.
All right, Jerry, wanted to tell you how the Mets-Dodgers game wound up. 2 outs in the 9th inning, a 3-2 Mets lead. Randy Myers in for Ron Darling. Mickey Hatcher, the fly ball to center field, and that's it. Mets win 3-2. Darling, the winner. Mets have yet to lose to the Dodgers this year. They're 4-0 against them. Back to Gary and Joe.
Randy Myers has been superb this year for the Mets. So we have 2 out now, a runner at first, and here comes Clark. And Plunk didn't want to get into this situation, have to face Clark. And right now, with that base hit by Washington, his first hit of the night, he keeps the Yankees' hopes alive here in the top of the 12th.
And Claudell Washington can steal a base for you.
McGuire holds on at first, and Plunk, very aware of just what you were describing, goes there.
And Plunk has a big leg kick, so Claudell should be able to get a good jump if he decides to go. The only bad point as far as Claudell is concerned is he throws a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. It gets to the catcher pretty quickly.
This is fast approaching a 4-hour game, as here's the pitch, missing, and the count now goes to 1 ball, no strikes on Clark. Jack Clark doesn't show a lot of emotion up there, but you know the kind of mental toughness he has, and you just better not make a mistake right now. Plunk steps off, Remember the game between Atlanta and St. Louis that went 19 innings? Jose Oquendo, Clark's former teammate, ended up pitching before that game was over. Strike call. 1-1. I'm not suggesting we go 19 innings,
No.
Joe.
Jack Clark was sitting on a fastball there, and Plunk wisely threw him a good breaking ball for a strike. Because I think Jack Clark can turn anybody's fastball around.
See, Washington's been successful in each stealing attempt thus far. Isn't it amazing? You think about Claudell Washington, signed by Finley, 18 years of age. And here he is, so many years later, at first base, with Clark at the plate. Ground ball to short. White bobble the ball. And that will bring Pagliarulo to the plate.
I think what happened on the play is he was trying to decide whether to go to first base or go to second, because he overcharges the ball, actually, and he gets caught on an in-between hop. If he was going to go to second base, he could have waited back a little bit, but I don't think he was sure of what he was going to do, and I think he just really overcharged the ball.
That's his 9th error of the year. He had 2 yesterday, and that comes at a very bad time for the Oakland A's, and La Russa's going to make a change. Cataray, the left-hander, will come in. So Plunk will leave. Cataray will come on to face the left-handed batter. Plunk should have been out of the inning. Well, you recall at the start of our broadcast, we talked about Lou Piniella stepping down as general manager of the New York Yankees. Al Michaels earlier talked to Lou. Let's listen to that interview.
But I wasn't totally happy with the aspects of the job. The clerical, the hours. I spent a lot of time at the ballpark. When I did things that pertain to baseball, like talk to different general managers, read scouting reports and those things, I liked it. So really all I'm doing now is restructuring my job. I'll spend more time in the baseball end of it and less time in the administrative end.
How would you describe, in the role of general manager, your working relationship this season with Billy Martin and George Steinbrenner?
Well, I think that's been overstated from the reports that I've been reading. I've had a good working relationship with both men. We've had some disagreements, but anytime you're in a position to make decisions, you're going to have disagreements. The club has played well, and that's what's been important. That's the bottom line. I didn't resign because of any problems with either of these men.
Well, very interesting. I guess, Joe, there's some talk out here that he might be putting himself in a position to become manager elsewhere.
Well, it's very obvious that he likes the baseball part of the job rather than the administrative part of it. And so maybe that's what he is positioning himself for.
Well, Toronto, Philadelphia, Kansas City, all of those have been rumored. Here's Cataray now, the left-hander, coming on to pitch to Pag. Cataray, record of 2-0. This is his 16th appearance. Pag's 1 for 5 for the night. 2 runners on, 2 down, top of the 12th, 2-2 ball game. Cataray in relief of Plunk. Misses, and the count now goes to 2-0. Cataray last year won his last 3 games for the A's. Finished with a 6-2 record. Made the transition from a starter to a reliever last season, and a nervous La Russa hoping somehow to shut this one off right now.
Well, he wants to shut him out because he's got the top of the order coming up for him in the bottom of the inning. So if he can get out of this, he'll have Lansford, Javier, and Canseco to try to put a run across.
2-1 now. Boyer walks down the third base line, encouraging. La Russa, one of 5 lawyers ever to manage in Major League Baseball history. 2-1. Al back, and the count evens at 2-2. Well, tomorrow, Al Leiter, a left-hander, expected to go for the Yankees. and Steve Oliveros for the A's. That is, if we're not playing this game come tomorrow.
This is the pitch that he wants to make it happen on, because you do not want to go to 3-2 and put the runners in motion.
2-2 pitch, and it's full now, 3-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Washington down at second. At first, reaching by an error, Jack Clark, and look who's up next.
Not only that, but you put the runners in motion, it eliminates any possibility of throwing the runner out at the plate.
Spin move by Canteray, chasing Washington back in. 3-2, 2 out. 5 balls, short center field. Coming in is Dave Henderson, and we go to the 12th as Canteray comes in relief of Plunk and gets the job done. We'll return to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum after a word from our local station. Well, our premiere of ABC's Monday Night Baseball has gone to extra innings. We're in the bottom of the 12th. Steve Shields, the pitcher for the Yankees, and Carney Lansford 3 for 5, hitting .401 as of right now, comes to the plate to lead things off. Takes the pitch inside for ball 1. It'll be Lansford, Javier, Canseco. 2-2 our score. 12 hits by the Yankees, 11 by the A's. Shields, who worked the last inning very effectively, gets a strike. In fact, the last 2 innings, the A's have gone down 1-2-3.
Carney Lansford has hit the ball hard all 3 times in the ballgame that he's gotten base hit.
And that one hits the second. Randolph, now playing second base, comes up throwing, and there's 1 down.
That was a good pitch by Shields. He got the fastball in on his hands, on Lansford's hands, and he broke his bat, hit a little soft grounder to second base.
Well, that drops him below 400. Lansford now hitting .399 after that ground out.
We'll get a look at it here. You see the catcher set up inside Skinner, and he gets the fastball in on Lansford's hands. Nothing he can do with it. Good pitch by Shields.
Javier, who reached on an error back in the 9th, struck out back in the 6th, and flied out on 3 other occasions. Grounds it foul down the first base side. Well, this game continuing on, we've got a lot of finals due to the length of this game. We mentioned earlier the Mets winning 3-2 in that game in Shea against the Dodgers, and Minnesota earlier this afternoon had their 8-game winning streak ended. Cleveland over Kansas City, Swindell becoming the first 10-game winner. Seattle over Baltimore. Boston winning 5-2. Boston just having a tough time scoring runs. Only 22 home runs going into this game tonight. There is a foul tip. He got a piece of that one, and the count goes to 0-2. Javier, the switch hitter, now batting from the left-hand side against the right-hander Shields. And Milwaukee 4-1 over Toronto. 0-2 pitch. Outside, and it's 1-2. Steve Shields, 6'5", 230-pound right-hander. Out of Gadsden, Alabama, where he was a high school basketball All-American player. Round to short. Meacham on 1 hop. They got him, though. Nice pickup that time by Ward.
Meacham just kind of flipped the ball. He got rid of it very quickly. He didn't extend his arm and throw a strike over there. He flipped it, and Gary Ward made a fine play.
Say, those Yankee shortstops tonight have struggled a little bit, haven't they? 2 down, and here's the guy that can end it, Canseco. Let's look at this again.
There you see him throw the ball kind of sidearm, and it sinks. Instead of extending his arm and letting the ball ride across the infield, he flipped his sidearm, and luckily Gary Ward made a fine pickup.
Canseco in this ball game, pair of base hits, scoring the 2 runs.
Canseco's in a pretty good position here. He knows he's going to get a pretty good pitch to hit if he's patient, because Dave Parker's following behind him, and Parker's been swinging a bat well tonight. So if he's patient, he will get a pitch to hit.
Shields starts him out low, and the count goes 1-0. Boy, you look back Joe, way back to those 2 plays at third, where the A's had runners thrown out. Strike called. 1-1. Lansford back in the first inning was cut down. Then White on a brilliant throw from Winfield in right field. Seiko with a 1-1 count. 2 out. Bottom of the 12th. 2-2 the score. And he hits it to short center field. Washington, long run coming in. And we go to the 13th inning here in the Oakland Coliseum. Still 2-2. 12 hits for the Yankees. 11 for the A's. As Washington, very busy in center field, erases Canseco in the bottom of the 12th. Gary Bender, Joe Morgan, glad to have you with us as we conclude this extended weekend. Memorial Day, been a busy weekend for ABC. The Indy 500 yesterday, our premiere of ABC's Monday Night Baseball. As you see, the new pitcher now for the A's, Dennis Eckersley, and he has been nothing short of sensational. 16 saves, 17 appearances. He'll be making now his 3rd appearance in 4 days. So, this guy who at one time was a 20-game winner for the Boston Red Sox, threw a no-hitter at one time, almost, Joe, by accident, became a relief pitcher here in Oakland, and right now is as good as anybody in that capacity in Major League Baseball.
And at first he did not want to become a relief pitcher, but since he's been there and done a good job, he really enjoys it. He says he does not want to be a starter again, so he's done a good job for the A's. You know, the Yankees used Dave Righetti, their ace, in the ball game so far, and now the A's come back with their ace, Dennis Eckersley. But I'm like Righetti, I don't believe he's going to pitch very long. You cannot use your ace out there very long, even in an extra-inning ball game like this, because then you'll have to sit for a few days and will not be able to use him to shut out a game.
Well, Winfield will lead off the inning again. He did that back in the 9th. He'll be followed by Ward and then Santana. Eckersley, check that. Santana, of course, out of the ball game. It'll be Randolph who will come up for the first time. Eckersley, 0-1, but a 1.93 ERA, 23 and a third innings he's pitched thus far. And he's 1-0 on Winfield. One thing about Eckersley, he will throw strikes. In fact, very seldom does he even get behind 1-0. He'll usually get that first one over somehow.
But I think that was a purpose pitch. He wants to establish that he will come inside to Winfield before he goes back outside like that.
1 ball, 1 strike on Winfield. Winfield with a home run way back in the 5th inning. One and one on Dave. We're in the top half of the 13th inning. Swinging late, the count goes to 1-2. Boy, when you have a long road trip, 12 games, which this will eventually be for the Yankees, these long games like this, opening a 3-game series, which is so important to both these ball clubs, they must feel like they live out here. But the Yankees are playing so well. They've won 7 of their last 8, despite some of the distraction this week off the field, despite the injury to Mattingly. Madanosian checked with a first base umpire. He didn't go around. 2-2. First base umpire Dale Scott.
Actually came back with a breaking ball away, and Winfield was able to check his swing, but that was a good pitch by Eckersley.
So 2-2 on Winfield. Grounded foul. Eckersley, 33 years of age. He says he's in the best shape of his life. Says, I'm in better shape than when I was 23. Worked out hard in the offseason. His fastball, the velocity-wise, has come back. 20-game winner in 78 with the Red Sox. 2-2, and he got him. Well, we talked to Eckersley why he's become such an outstanding reliever.
Well, I think one thing is I always threw strikes, and I'm around the plate, and you want a reliever to come in the game and throw strikes. And not just that, I think I've been more effective because people don't get a long look at me. I can go out there and face a hitter one time, so he doesn't really know what I'm going to do. All he knows I'm going to come after him.
Always ahead of the batters, always throwing strikes. And right now, Ward is who he faces, and Ward grounds it foul.
Gary Ward was having a good night.
Well, he's 3 for 5. That's still a good night.
Yeah, but his 3 for 4 was an excellent night.
That's what I mean. If you aren't hitting, that old average can plummet in a game like this when you get 6, 7 at bat. 1 ball, 1 strike on Ward. Willie Randolph, due up next. It'll be his first at bat in this game. Had a notion. They checked with Scott. Yes, sir. He went around. 1 and 2. The relief pitching has just been magnificent. Both sides. Go back to the 8th inning, when the A's tied it up. And there hasn't been anything happening. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Ward. 2-2 pitch. And that one's headed to right. Canseco coming in, and he made a running catch. Well, that's part of being that complete player. He has not committed an error in right field this year, a new position after playing left field last year.
And as we talked about earlier, he does play a shallow right field. And he got an excellent jump on the ball, and he was able to make a shoestring catch. Nice play.
So here's Randolph, his first appearance. Willie off to a very slow start this year at the plate. One strike. And let's go back now to that catch by Canseco. Joe, tell us what happened here.
Ward lined at the right field, but as I mentioned, you see it's awfully shallow. Canseco comes in, makes a good running shoestring catch.
And while we're in that replay, Randolph takes the call, strike 2, 1 and 2.
And Eckersley is throwing awfully hard.
Outside, 2 and 2. One thing about LaRussa, he tries to space these appearances apart. He's brought Dennis back-to-back in this Red Sox series. Gave him yesterday off, but he's back in today. There's a line shot, a wicked shot into the box on that far side along that first base line. It'll now go at 2 and 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Top of the 13th. LaRussa really watches how he plays everyone. The only guy that's played every game for the A's is Canseco. That's popped up. Glenn Hubbard at second base. Bottom of the 13th coming up. 2-2 our score. Dennis Eckersley continues this masterful relief pitching by the Oakland A's, helped by Canseco's grab in right field. Bottom of the 13th, 2-2 our score. The Yankees with 12 hits, the A's with 11. The last scoring we had in this ball game back in the 8th inning when Canseco tied it. Checking the standings, the Yankees 2-game lead over the Indians. Cleveland proving that they were not a fluke early in this season. Detroit hanging in there despite the loss of Kurt Gibson. 4 back. Milwaukee winning today, 7 back. The Red Sox also the victory, 2 over the 500 mark. Then comes Toronto and Baltimore. Now in the West, as we had mentioned at the start of this broadcast, this is the biggest lead at the Memorial Day part of the season for any team in the American League West. 9 games over Texas. Minnesota dropping back to 9.5 after losing earlier today. Kansas City 12.5. Seattle, Chicago, and California. And of course, Oakland will move on to play the Twins in Minnesota as they start a swing. There's what we were talking about. The A's with that 9-game lead. The 42 Yankees, the 70 Orioles, and the 71 A's, which is the beginning of quite a dynasty here in Oakland. That early 70s, those world championships. As Dave Parker will start things here in the bottom of the 13th. McGuire and Mercado to follow. The A's now have gone down 1, 2, 3 in the last 3 innings. They're supposed to have fireworks after the end of this game. The way this game's going, they may have to cancel them and hold them maybe July 4th, huh?
Well, we had some fireworks early in the ball game with Billy Martin being ejected, but in the last few innings, no fireworks at all.
Parker 2 for 4, slices it. Ow. Got to be alert down that side. That one, another wicked shot to the other side. 1 ball, 1 strike on Parker. Parker driving in a run in the 8th inning with a single. Also a base hit in the 6th. Walked 1 time. You know, the All-Star game last year went 13 innings, played right here in the Oakland Coliseum. Swing and a miss.
And Shields threw the fastball right by Dave Parker, and it wasn't inside tight either. He got it out over the plate.
The elite pitching has really been something. Everyone throwing with great velocity, staying ahead of the hitters. Here's a 1-2 to Parker. 2-2. Shields last year had a fractured cheekbone. He was hit by a Kirby Puckett line drive that really slowed his progress a year ago, playing for Seattle at that time. Come back strong. 2-2 pitch. And it's full now, 3-2.
And Shields wanted that pitch. He thought he got the outside corner.
McGuire due up next. (3-2). Stays alive, and he almost took McGuire with him on that one. Mark McGuire just got out of the way.
And Steve Shields threw a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and Dave Parker caught it a little late.
Shields looking back out of that scoreboard, a lot of zeros out there. 3-2 again, and grounded, and fair ball. And the throw to Shields as Ward saved that beautifully. Snagged it, and the throw to Shields covering first.
Well, Gary Ward has made a fine play here, but he was guarding the line because you do not want to let him hit the ball past you down the line. The ball, he catches it in foul territory, but the ball grounded. When it was grounded, it went over the bag before it went foul. Therefore, it's a fair ball. It's not where he catches it. It's where it crossed the bag.
And Shields says, I'm glad I didn't want to go back to that 3-2 count again on Parker. Here's McGuire. Misses, and the count 1-0. McGuire 1 for 4. His base hit coming clear back in the 2nd inning. Also walked once in the 8th. High fly ball, short center field. It's Washington again. Waddell Washington makes the catch. 2 up, and Mercado's up. If they get through Mercado, that'll be 4 straight innings that the A's have been shut down in order.
As good as Steve Shields is throwing, I think the A's are going to have to hope he gets tired.
Mercado coming in relief of Hassey. One ball, no strike. Yankee infield has been changed. Randolph at second after Santana was hurt. Meacham moving to short. Mercado swings and fouls the back, and it evens at 1-1. Well, what's happened now is Shields got through the real tough part of the order. Parker, McGuire. You look to the Yankees. They'll be leading off with Skinner. Then they go to the top of the order again. What's the longest game, Joe, you ever played in?
That's a good question. I think about 19 innings.
1-1 pitch. 1-2.
The longest game I ever broadcast was 16 innings.
We may get that one tonight.
Yeah.
There is Henderson. He'd like to get up on this inning. Foul ball, first base side, Ward over. And we continue on. We'll return after this message about an upcoming show on ABC. 2-2 our score. The top half of the 14th inning from the Oakland Coliseum. A sellout crowd on this Memorial Day as Dennis Eckersley will continue on the mound for the Oakland A's. Tomorrow night, Steve Olivares going against Al Leiter of the Yankees. And as many pitchers as they've used tonight, Tony La Russa is going to have to sit down, as will Billy Martin, figure out just who's available for the rest of this series.
That's one thing that a long extra-inning ball game does to a pitching staff, especially the first night in of a 3-game series. It takes its toll. But then a lot of times you have a starting pitcher come out the next day and he'll respond and be able to give you a complete ball game or at least get into the 7th or 8th inning.
Dennis Eckersley is one of the real characters in this game. I don't know if people are aware. He has his own language. It's called Ekkies. In other words, he has some expressions to define certain parts of the game as Joel Skinner gets ready to step into the plate. Eckersley, for instance, calls a paint master a guy who can paint the corners when he's pitching very well. A bridge is a home run. A Bogart is opening day. And Skinner swings through the first pitch for a strike. He calls money iron. So Dennis Eckersley has really been a colorful player in his years in the major league. Skinner, swing, and that fouls it and goes to 0-2. Skinner, 3 hits in this ball game. Double and 2 singles. By the way, Dave Stewart, who was hit pretty hard in the series against the Red Sox, warming up.
Well, as I mentioned, one of the things that La Russa will not do is go very long with Dennis Eckersley.
Skinner with another hit. That's his 4th hit of the game. Henderson comes up throwing, and Joel Skinner starts things out here in the 14th inning. That is the 13th hit of the game for the Yankees. And that'll bring up Henderson. Let's check now the senior circuit, the National League. That's the game televised on ABC. The Mets winning at 3-2. Andy Meyer coming in and shutting things down. Look at Bonilla. 14-2 Pittsburgh. Chicago with a lot of runs again. 12-3. Philadelphia, 4th straight win for the Phillies. 7-3 over San Diego. Houston defeating the Cardinals 5-4. We may be giving scores for the next day the way this was going. Here is Henderson swinging through that one for strike 1. Ricky Henderson drove in a run in the 7th inning on a ground out, singled in the 9th. And by the way, Montreal defeated San Francisco 3-2. Henderson 1 for 6 in this game. Now is behind 0-2. There it is, the Expos over the Giants. And the Giants were just swept by the Phillies, and Roger Craig getting a little nervous.
Well, they're having problems scoring runs. That's been their big problem. Last year they scored a lot of runs. So far this season they've been struggling with the bat.
0-2 to Henderson, and he struck him out. Just magnificent pitching in this ball game. 91-mile-per-hour fastball. And he just threw by Ricky Henderson. Here's Bobby Meacham. Meacham singled back in the 6th and able to steal a base. Now playing shortstop.
We might be surprised. Skinner went from 1st to 3rd on a single by Ricky Henderson earlier in the ball game.
You remember that?
Yeah, they made
impressive.
Not out of the question that he might try to steal a base because Eckersley does have a slow delivery to the plate.
Takes his lead. McGuire holds him on. Pitch misses inside, 1-0. Again, this is something Joe Morgan's mentioned, how shallow the A's outfielders play, especially Canseco in right field. Henderson as well. Javier a little deeper in left. 1-0 on Meacham. Skinner. Not going and swung on center field. Henderson coming in, and he's there. And it's a good thing he's playing shallow. That ball, an easy out for Henderson. 2 out. And that brings up Claudell Washington. Washington with a base hit in this ball game back in the 12th. Canseco, we've talked about how well he's played defensively, has not committed an error. He plays the shallow right field, but he also does something different than a lot of outfielders. Watch how he lines up as the pitch is being thrown.
Well, he turned sideways to home plate. That's something he and Joe Rudy worked on and decided that that was a good way for him to start in this position. He actually moves his left foot forward a little bit so that he does get almost square, but I guess he just wants to start from that position and get some movement before the pitch is thrown.
Kind of like a defensive back, huh? 2-0. I wonder, though, if the ball is hit to his right-hand side, how you get turned and go after it.
Well, that's something that he and Joe Rudy, like I say, worked on so often in spring training. They decided that was a good position for him, and he's played an excellent defensive right field so far this season.
2-1 on Claudell Washington. 2 down. 14th inning, the top of it. 2-2 our score. Looking to the A's, Henderson would lead off. Followed by Hubbard and White, the bottom of the order. And the count now 2-2. That, of course, being Dave Henderson as opposed to Ricky Henderson. Now McGuire backing off.
You see the catcher motioning with his right hand. He's saying we're aware of the delayed steal.
Fly ball, right field. Canseco drifting over near the foul line. And the bottom of the 14th ready to come up. 2-2 our score as Eckersley continues to be effective. We'll return to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum after a word from our local station. Our score, bottom of the 14th. Dave Henderson to lead things off for the A's. Shields, who's retired 9 batters in a row, strikes Henderson off, and there's a ball hit deep to center. Washington going back, and it is out of here. A home run, and the A's win it. And a disappointed Shields. First ball hitting Henderson. His 6th home run of the year. And he hit it to the deepest part of this ballpark over the 400-foot sign.
And I think Henderson guessed right. Shields wanted to get out in front. He threw him the fastball, and he hit it straight away center field. Long way, but he hit it. Excellent swing.
Well, Henderson's had some big hits. We talked about the championship series and the 5th game against the Angels, a home run. Hit well in the World Series when he was playing with the Red Sox. And this will be one of those memorable ones, ending it all here in the bottom of the 14th inning. A leadoff home run. A game that was 4 hours and a half old. And Shields, who we just mentioned had retired 9 men in an order, gave up the home run ball. Well, that's 6 wins in a row now, Joe, for the A's. And again, they start out a 3-game series of the Yankees winning the opening game.
Well, the Yankees came back in New York last week to win the next 2 ball games, but this is a different story. They're in Oakland now, and the A's are wanting to establish that they can win at home.
Well, let's go back. Here's Washington trying somehow to keep this in play, but it was just no way he could come up with Dave Henderson's home run ball.
Well, at 400 feet to straightaway center field, not only did he hit it over the 400-foot sign, but he hit it high and deep. And that gave Claudell Washington time to get back and attempt to keep it in the ballpark. But great ball game, I tell you. Great pitching, relief pitching by both sides. Some exciting plays earlier in the ball game. Just a very good start.
Well, there's a new tradition here in Oakland. It's called the 4 a.m. bash. And it's kind of a rendition of something that Bobby Pickett had as a hit, the Monster Bash, in the 60s.
The Oakland A's, you too can do the latest baseball craze with the A's big bats really come alive. Don't waste time with the boring high five. Do the monster bash. It's a ballpark smash. It gets on in a flash. Do the monster bash.
Well, the Monster Bash will continue to be used all year long. The way these guys can hit the long ball. Henderson, his 6th home run in the 14th inning as Oakland wins it 3-2. Eckersley with a win. He's 1-1. Shields a loser. He's 0-2. Home runs by Winfield and Henderson. A game 4.5 hours long. And the A's win it. Their 6th win in a row.
333 and 334. At this time, with those people please begin.
ABC's Monday Night Baseball. This ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, Today Chevrolet. By Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this. By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. It always has, always will. And by AT&T, the right choice. So the final score, once again, Oakland 3, the New York Yankees 2. Eckersley, 16 saves, and now his first win of the season. Shields, who had retired 9 in a row, gives up the home run ball to Henderson, his 6th round tripper of the year. And the Oakland A's, with the best record in baseball, continuing to really right now make a shambles of the American League West. This Saturday begins on ABC Sports with a Pro Bowlers Tour. Then ABC's Wide World of Sports features a figure skating special with a night of Olympic champions, plus the mini marathon from New York City. Our thanks to Joe Morgan. A pleasure to work with him, along with Steve Dans and Bill Webb, our statistician, George Hill. Please stay tuned now for ABC's Nightline, following your local news over most of these ABC stations. A combined live broadcast of the Soviet morning TV program, 120 minutes, as the 3rd day of the Superpower Summit begins. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as a leader in sports television.